Chapter 10:26. What? When the elders of the 5 clans saw this, they were all dumbfounded. They didn't care about the death of the leader of the Drought Demon tribe, because they thought that Xiaoping must have been lying. But now they saw the leader of the Slime tribe die in front of them. This was a fact that couldn't be faked. They couldn't accept it and were extremely angry. Damn it! Let's kill this bastard together. Kill him! Many elders shouted angrily. They couldn't stand this kind of thing at all. They immediately rushed towards Xiaoping. Hundreds of monsters at the peak of the Grandmaster realm attacked at the same time. Immediately, hundreds of shocking strength attacked from different directions. It was like an inescapable net. They wanted to tear Xiaoping into pieces in an instant. Xiaoping grabbed the countless blades in his hand and slashed at the group of elders. Swoosh! 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 Suddenly, hundreds of sharp blades appeared in the air and kept extending. So strong. The Raven of Misfortune and the other demons were astounded. They saw a dense number of blades appear in midair. Each blade was extremely sharp and emitted a chilling sword beam. Moreover, the speed was so fast that ordinary people couldn't see it with their eyes. With a bang, the strength of the earth energy that the elders sent out was cut into pieces. Even the strength of the earth energy couldn't resist the power of the blades at all. They continued to advance. Suddenly, the elders let out shrill screams because the blades pierced through their earth energy defense and directly pierced through their bodies. They were like barbecued meat. A large amount of blood flowed out. It was as if they were facing a mountain of knives in hell. Their bodies were pierced by the dense sword chi. They couldn't even be cut by 1,000 knives. In the face of the combat power of the king level, these elders were as weak as babies. They couldn't resist at all. This is too abnormal. The Crow of Misfortune and the other monsters saw this kind of terrifying combat power again. Before, they still had a glimmer of hope. Maybe they could limit the growth of this human, or maybe they could fight against him. But seeing this scene, they were completely gone. This human had completely grown up. Even if the Wanyao Mountain went all out to kill him, they couldn't do anything to him. The best time to eliminate this scourge in advance was gone. Bastard! Patriarch Blackwood was so angry that his entire body was trembling. Seeing so many elders die tragically, he felt as if his chest was about to explode. A murderous look appeared in his eyes. Let's go. Xiaoping was cold-blooded and merciless. He knew that if he did not eliminate this group of enemies today, the humans in the Cloud Realm would die under their blades once the other party's ancestral altar was completed. This was a war between races. How could there be mercy? If you show mercy to them today, they might not show mercy to you in the future. A woman's benevolence will only kill the army. Moreover, when they were waving their butcher knives, they didn't have the slightest bit of mercy towards you. Now, it was only because they were weak that it seemed very tragic. If they were strong enough and had the upper hand, they would be able to kill and seize the lives of human beings. That would be a completely different story. Those human grandmasters who had been captured by the 5 clans could feel it the most. Those aliens were no less ruthless than any executioner. Sun God Fist. He punched out, and it was as if a sun had appeared in the mortal world. Terrifying yang chi surged, almost burning everything. The area within a radius of several kilometers was filled with terrifying heat. Any enemy standing in this area would feel as if they were about to be cooked. Oh no! The chief of the Blackwood tribe's expression changed. The anger in his heart disappeared under this punch. At this moment, he felt that his life was like a candle in the wind, about to be extinguished at any time. The omnipresent flames had completely locked onto his aura. In an instant, they surrounded him from all directions, forming a huge whirlpool that seemed as if it was about to crush him. Moreover, as a member of the Wood tribe, he was most afraid of flames. They were known as the nemesis of fire. Moreover, these flames were heavenly flames, which were extremely harmful to the Blackwood tribe. Once touched by these flames, he would die without a doubt. Die! The chief of the Blackwood tribe shouted angrily. The thousands of vines that had been crushed were quickly restored due to his rapid growth. He waved the thousands of vines in the air. Immediately, it was as if a group of demons were dancing in the air, covering the sky. Each vine was like a divine spear. They were extremely fast, piercing through everything. The surrounding air was stirred up, condensing into a terrifying aura. These vines gathered together and intertwined with each other, forming a super long spear that shot toward the fiery fist, wanting to pierce through it. Boom! At this moment, the two forces collided with each other, creating a shocking explosion. The surrounding air vibrated thousands of times, and the entire mountain rumbled. The ground couldn't bear the power of such an explosion. Astonishingly deep pits were blasted into the ground. Soil flew everywhere, and hundreds of cracks spread out like a spiderweb. In the distance, huge rocks were directly crushed into powder. Trees were also thrown away, exploding in midair and falling to the ground. The Crow of Misfortune and the other monsters were scared half to death. They all retreated a few kilometers. This was a battle to the death between kings. If masters like them dared to get involved, only death awaited them. This was already beyond their understanding. Perhaps they would understand a little if they became kings, but now they could only hide with all their might. Not good. However, the leader of the Blackwood race didn't look happy at all. Although he had blocked such a powerful fist force, the power of the strange fire was still burning his body along the vines. Even if he wanted to use his magic power to extinguish the flames, it was useless. It seemed that the strange fire was using his body as fuel. Like fire meeting diesel, it began to burn fiercely. In just a few breaths, he was half dead. His entire body had turned into a huge torch. Die! Xiaoping leaped up, clenched his fist, and suddenly punched. A solid golden fist mark appeared in midair. It passed inch by inch and directly reached the body of the leader of the Blackwood race. Dong! This punch was so powerful that it instantly blew up the body of the leader of the Blackwood race. A shocking big hole appeared in the middle of his body. Wood fragments flew everywhere, and his entire body was torn into pieces. At the same time, the power of the flames started burning in his body. It seemed that every cell in his body was being burned by the flames. Ah! The leader of the Blackwood race let out a shrill scream. He had never experienced such pain in his life. Chapter 10:27. Dong, just as Xiaoping killed the chief of the Blackwood race with a single punch, and the entire battlefield was filled with dust and sand, a figure attacked from the dark like a cannonball and punched Xiaoping's back. The one who attacked was the chief of the rock giant race, Rock Bao. It had been hiding in the shadows all this time, enduring and waiting for an opportunity to find Xiaoping's flaws, to find an opportunity to deal a fatal blow to Xiaoping. As expected, the moment Xiaoping killed the chief of the Blackwood race with a single punch, he found a flaw in this human's defense and attacked decisively. His attack was filled with lethal killing intent. It could be said that this punch contained all of Rock Bao's power from his heel, knee, waist, spine, neck, arm, and fist. This kind of power was transmitted bit by bit, and the power was also doubled. By the time it reached the fist, the power had already risen to the pinnacle. This punch was not simple either. It contained the supreme martial art of the rock giant race, called the Rock Vacuum Punch. Once used, the destructive power would increase to a terrifying level and destroy everything. Boom! As expected, when this punch was thrown, all the air within a radius of dozens of meters was expelled, forming a vacuum zone. The surrounding air was expelled, creating an extremely terrifying pressure. The rocks in the distance were crushed by this pressure and were instantly flattened to the thickness of a piece of paper. Even a purple mansion realm cultivator would be smashed into pieces by this punch. Bang! This punch landed squarely on Xiaoping's body, and a shocking sound came from the surroundings. It's over. The Crow of Misfortune and the other monsters went completely crazy when they saw this. Of course, they didn't feel pity for Xiaoping's death, but Xiaoping could die at any time, but not now. If Xiaoping died now, who else could stop the conspiracy of the 5 races? Who else could destroy the ancestral altar? Moreover, these Grandmaster-level monsters would only be cannon fodder against the 2 monarchs. Therefore, Xiaoping couldn't die now. Even if he died, he had to drag the other 2 monarchs down with him. Otherwise, they would all be finished and die without a burial. Impossible. Originally, Rock Bao had a sinister expression on his face. He wanted to see the scene of Xia Ping's body exploding. He wanted to see the shock and fear on this human's face before his death. However, it discovered that when its fist struck Xia Ping's body, it was blocked by a thin layer of energy shield. Even if it was just a thin layer, it was like a natural chasm that he would never be able to cross in his lifetime. The originally tyrannical and unparalleled power instantly turned invisible, as if it had been completely absorbed. "What are you wearing?" Rockbow instantly realized that this wasn't some kind of protective technique. Instead, this kid was actually wearing a special protective magic treasure. It was this magic treasure that completely dispelled its power and perfectly defended it. Even if it expended all of its strength, it still couldn't harm Xia Ping in the slightest. This is a universal protective suit. Even a fulfillment realm cultivator cannot break through its defenses. Xia Ping turned around and looked coolly at Rockstorm. This was a battle of life and death, not some kind of training. Therefore, in order to kill his opponent, he was, of course, fully prepared. He also wore the universal protective suit. This way, he would be invincible. No matter how strong Rock Bao was, under the protection of the universal protective suit, he still couldn't harm him. Universal protective suit? This is against the rules. This is against the rules. How can such a thing exist in this world? Aren't you here for a trial? Why did you bring such a thing here? Is no one going to stop you? I don't accept this. Rock Bao was furious. Even a fulfillment realm cultivator couldn't harm this universal protective suit at all. How was he supposed to fight it? It was like a turtle shell. No one could harm him, even if he stood there. This was clearly a trial, but this bastard actually brought such a treasure in. Was he here for a trial? He was here for a field trip. He was here to steal something. This was too much. Universal protective suit? Damn, this bastard human. No wonder he was so arrogant. The Crow of Misfortune and the other monsters' faces turned green. No wonder this guy wasn't afraid, even when facing a King Realm cultivator. Wearing this suit, he was invincible like a walking turtle. No matter how the King Realm cultivators beat him, it was useless. Shameless human. Green Phoenix and Tu Linglong also clenched their teeth. They thought their treasures were good, but compared to this human, they were trash. But then, what was the point of the trial? Once he appeared, no one was his match. All the benefits were taken away by this human. Lu Qi, Guo Tsuni, and Li Yun were speechless. They didn't expect Xia Ping to have such a precious treasure. Only an invincible King Realm cultivator could have such a treasure. Ordinary King Realm cultivators weren't qualified to get it. If Wuquan's group had known that Xia Ping had such a treasure, they probably wouldn't have abandoned him. But all of this was just a if. It had already happened. Even if they regretted it now, it was useless. Die! Xia Ping took out the treasure weapon, the Spear of Hell. Hell's aura exploded from his body. It was as if the whole sky had darkened. Ghostly wails and wolf howls came from all directions. It was as if a gate of hell was about to open in the depths of time and space. Countless evil spirits would swarm out from the gate of hell. He held the Spear of Hell tightly and stabbed it at Rockstorm. Rockstorm was too close to Xia Ping, and he was in the process of collapsing. Even if he wanted to dodge, he wouldn't be able to react at such a distance. Dong! The Spear of Hell pierced through Rockstorm's body without hesitation. Rockstorm's body had been cultivated by absorbing the essence of meteorites from outer space. Ordinary swords, and even nuclear bombs couldn't destroy this body. Rockstorm also relied on this indestructible Vajra body to be domineering. He didn't fear his own life at all. But under the Spear of Hell, Rockstorm's body was no stronger than a piece of paper. It was easily pierced through like tofu. Ah! Rockstorm screamed. His eyes were wide open. He felt that his soul had been pierced by the spear. He didn't expect to die in the hands of a human master realm cultivator. With a bang, his entire body collapsed to the ground. The fire of the soul deep in his eyes was extinguished. Without the support of the soul fire, all of the rocks on its body crumbled and fell to the ground, creating shockingly deep craters with loud booms. There's one more. Xiaoping didn't care about the dead rock storm. He turned around to look for the leader of the metal race. He hadn't appeared since he was punched away. What? Chapter 1028. What is this guy trying to do? Xiaoping squinted his eyes. He instinctively felt that the leader of the metal race would not do anything good at this time, but it was too late to stop it now. Oh no, it wants to sacrifice its body to activate the ancestral altar. We cannot let it succeed. Green Phoenix's expression changed. She suddenly remembered some information about the ancestral altar. If it was close to completion and someone sacrificed themselves, the ancestral altar could be completed in advance. It could even forcibly activate the connection. This was probably what the leader of the metal race was thinking. Perhaps after seeing the leaders of the four races die, it knew that if it did not sacrifice itself, it would be killed by Xiaoping. It would be better to sacrifice itself and activate the ancestral altar. Rumble. As soon as it finished speaking, the leader of the metal race melted into a pool of liquid metal. It instantly melted into the ancestral altar, making up for all the flaws on the ancestral altar. Then, the entire ancestral altar was filled with energy. It emitted an endless blood-red light. Xiaoping looked over and saw that every pattern on the ancestral altar was lit up. A huge and mysterious matrix rose in the sky, covering a radius of thousands of kilometers. The matrix seemed to be connected to the depths of the universe. A map of the universe appeared. There were many stars on the map, which seemed to represent the position of each ancestral altar in the universe. At the same time, the altars seemed to be filled with the roars of countless ancient races. There were also sorcerers chanting. There were ancient, barbaric, and chaotic presences all around. This was inheritance, this was history. It seemed that the altar recorded the experiences of the five races from ancient times to the present. It inherited the past, connected to the future, and communicated with the universe. This kind of inheritance would never be broken. It's over. The ancestral altar has been activated. The Crow of Misfortune and the other monsters were in despair. They did not expect to fail at this critical moment. The leader of the metal race had activated the ancestral altar. Once it was activated, there was no way to stop it. They could only watch as the ancestral altar was activated and connected to the five races in the universe. It would not be long before they attracted a large number of enemies. This was a hopeless situation. Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. His mental energy spread out in all directions, and he immediately felt the world tremble. The moment the ancestral altar was activated, the world had undergone a huge change. Just as the ancestral altar was about to communicate with the universe and transmit the information from this place, the entire sky changed and the secret plane started to tremble. Bang, bang, bang. A massive black hole appeared above the altar, and terrifying bolts of black lightning descended from the black hole, striking the altar like divine punishment. In the blink of an eye, tens of thousands of black lightning bolts descended, containing the power to destroy the world. At the same time, a blood-colored barrier rose up from the ancestral altar in an attempt to block it. However, it was useless. The black lightning descended and shattered the barrier into pieces. Immediately, the entire altar cracked. Shocking cracks appeared on it, as if it was about to collapse. Sure enough, the Almighty who built this secret realm had a backup plan. Corinne's voice resounded. Xiaoping's heart stirred. What does that mean? The reason is very simple. Corinne said in a deep voice. How could the Almighty who built this secret realm not know that the only way the five races can contact the outside world is through the ancestral altar? The other party also expected this. So, in order to prevent this, once the five races activate the ancestral altar, it will immediately trigger the restrictive power left in this secret realm. Even after tens of thousands of years have passed, this backup plan still hasn't disappeared. What the five races are doing is completely useless. Even without us, they would never have succeeded in building the ancestral altar. Wanting to contact the outside world is also wishful thinking. He was very emotional. As an almighty, which one of them was a simple character? They almost took everything into account. Since the other party dared to do such a thing, How could they not have calculated all the loopholes? After all, if this matter were to be leaked, it would be a disaster for Wanyao Mountain. So, no matter what, they would not let the 5 races have the opportunity to contact the outside world. Bang, bang, bang. Another 10,000 bolts of black lightning struck down. The ancestral altar, which was supposed to be indestructible, was now smashed into smithereens. The mysterious formation in the void had long been destroyed. All the energy was contained within this space, unable to be transmitted out. Boom! But it was not over yet. After the black lightning bolts finished descending, the black hole above the altar did not disappear. It slowly rotated unfathomably deep. At some point in time, the sky had shattered like glass. Crackling sounds rang out, and hundreds of cracks had appeared. They extended for thousands of kilometers, with no end in sight. Oh no, Corinne's complexion changed. This Almighty is really too ruthless. The backup planet left behind is not only to destroy the ancestral altar, but also to blow up the entire secret realm. What? Xiaoping's eyes revealed a trace of cold light. What does it mean to blow up the entire secret realm? Maybe that Almighty also expected that the 5 races could still successfully build the ancestral altar under such strict demon race supervision. Obviously, a big problem must have happened to the demon race. It may be that they have completely declined, Corinne said in a deep voice. Therefore, it also expected that Myriad Demon Mountain might not be able to balance the power of the 5 major races. Since that is the case, it would be better to destroy the entire world and thoroughly erase the traces of the 5 major races and end all troubles. Or a ruthless method. Once this secret realm is destroyed, there will be no traces left. Even the 5 races will not be able to find any clues. You'd better leave quickly. Otherwise, you will be destroyed along with this secret realm. It warned Xiaoping. Xiaoping spread his hands. How do I leave? There is no exit in this world. Unless I advance to the King Realm, I will be expelled by this world. He was also helpless. There was no exit before, but now there is. Do you see the black hole in the air? That is the only exit in this world. Corinne pointed at the black hole in the sky. It started the world's destruction mechanism, but it also left the only flaw. Drill into this black hole, and you can leave this world. Exit. Hearing this, Xiaoping looked up and saw that the black hole was not far from here. He was immediately overjoyed. With this exit, he didn't have to worry about dying in this secret realm. Thinking of this, he immediately called Tu Linglong and the other monsters to immediately leave this place that was about to be destroyed. Although Tu Linglong and the other monsters didn't know what was going on, they also knew that it was very dangerous now. The aura of destruction was everywhere. If they didn't escape now, they would really be finished. Chapter 1029. On a nameless deserted island in the boundless sea of the cloud world. At this moment, a black hole suddenly appeared in the sky above the nameless deserted island. The energy inside slowly rotated like chaos, extending to an unknown place. Bang, bang, bang. At this moment, figures immediately fell out of the black hole. It was Xiaoping and the others. They all landed on the ground of the deserted island. After they all left, it did not take long for the black hole to slowly disappear. However, a series of earth-shattering explosions came from inside, as if it contained the energy of an unknown number of tons of nuclear bombs. If such energy were to spread to the cloud world, half of the land of the cloud world would probably be destroyed. Is that secret territory really destroyed? Tu Linglong was dumbfounded. She felt waves of destruction spreading out. If Xiaoping hadn't warned them in advance, they would have escaped quickly. Perhaps she would have been affected too. If there were still people in that secret territory, they would definitely die. It must have been destroyed. This is the method of the ancient demon saint. No one could defy it. Blue One also felt such waves. She immediately knew that no one could do such a thing except for the ancient demon saint. Bad human, no matter what, I thank you this time. I will return the favor this time. Tu Linglong bit her lips and looked at Xia Ping unwillingly. She had actually been saved by this shameless human so many times. Why don't you return it now? I am very interested in the bead you have. Why don't you take it out and let me have a look? Xiaoping blinked his eyes innocently. Get lost. Qing Wan and Tu Ling Long both spoke in unison. This bastard human really didn't give up. He was still covetously eyeing the celestial spirit defensive ball on my body. It was too dangerous to stay with such a little thief. It was better to leave as soon as possible. If they stayed any longer, they might be robbed by this human thief. All right, since we all came out of that secret territory, let's say goodbye. I hope we don't meet again. Blue Wan glared at Xia Ping fiercely. Her pretty face was flushed with anger. Whoosh! As soon as she finished speaking, she, Tu Ling Long, the crow of misfortune, and the other monsters quickly left the deserted island. After all, this was the endless sea, not the territory of the Wanyao Mountain. If they encountered enemies of the demon clan, they might be in danger. It was better to leave as soon as possible. Seeing the demons leave, the three human grandmasters shook their heads and sighed. Sigh, I didn't expect this to happen in this secret territory. This is such a loss. Not only did we not get the 5-element spirit fruit, but a large number of human gurus died. Looks like our path to becoming kings has been severed. There's no hope for us in this lifetime. This is fate. We have to accept it. However, being able to get to know little friend Xia makes this trip worthwhile. Lu Qi, Guo Suini, and Li Yun were all helpless. They had participated in the Arcana trial with the determination to die, but they did not expect such an outcome. In the end, they were still unable to advance into the king realm. It was like drawing water with a sieve. Not necessarily. Xiaoping smiled. To tell you the truth, I've actually obtained quite a few 5-element spirit fruits. He grabbed with his big hand and took out a cloth bag from his body, which contained 3 portions of 5-element spirit fruits. What? Lu Qi, Guo Suini, and Li Yun could not help but widen their eyes and narrow their pupils when they sensed the energy fluctuations in the cloth bag. They could not believe what they were seeing. It seemed that as long as they breathed in the spirit qi emitted from the bag, they could feel the bottleneck in their bodies loosen a lot. If he were to consume it, then advancing into the king realm would definitely be a matter of time. Seniors, you're welcome. This is my gift to you. Xiaoping handed the 5-element spirit fruits to the 3 of them. No. This gift is too valuable. Oh my God. This is the 5-element spirit fruit, a secret fruit that can help people advance to the king realm. Are you crazy to give it away just like that? Quick, take it back. It's too precious. Lu Qi, Guo Suini, and Li Yun were all shocked, but they still resisted the urge to give it. They felt that such a gift was too valuable for them to bear. It's nothing. Xiaoping smiled and said, Seniors, you don't have to worry. Actually, I still have some 5-element spirit fruits with me. Even if I give them away, they'll be more than enough for my cultivation. Moreover, the 5-element spirit fruits are only for advancing to the king realm. Once you advance to the king realm, these 5-element spirit fruits won't be so valuable anymore. Not so valuable. Lu Qi, Guo Suini, and Li Yun laughed bitterly. That was easy to say. After all, advancing to the king realm was an extraordinary fortune in and of itself. If people found out that Xiaoping had these spirit fruits, they might even start a war, and countless people would come to snatch them. But this kid said that the value wasn't so great. Only a peerless genius like him could say such arrogant words. It was as if the richest man in the world was showing off and saying that money wasn't that important. It was so annoying. Of course, if you don't need it, then I'll throw it away. Xiaoping pretended to throw it away. No. Kid, are you crazy? You want to throw it away? What a waste of God's gift. Lu Qi, Guo Suini, and Li Yun were so shocked that they jumped up. They tried to stop Xiaoping and snatch the 5-element spirit fruit from his hands so that they wouldn't be thrown away by this prodigal. This was a treasure that was worth more than the wealth of a city. No matter how carefully they guarded it, it would never be too much. If that's the case, are you willing to accept it? Xiaoping smiled. Hearing this, the 3 human grandmasters were stunned. They knew that they had been tricked by this kid, but there was nothing they could do. In fact, they needed the 5-element spirit fruits very much. All right, we won't say anything unnecessary. We will remember this favor. If there's a chance, we won't hesitate to go through water and tread on fire for it. Yes, little friend, you have given us a second chance. The three human grandmasters solemnly cupped their fists at Xiaoping. They were very grateful. You're welcome, you're welcome. Xiaoping waved his hand. Of course, he knew that the five-element spirit fruit was very precious. It was a spirit fruit that could help ordinary people quickly advance to the king realm. In the cloud realm, it was a treasure that couldn't be bought even with money. However, he was willing to give it to the three human grandmasters. Not to mention that they had made great contributions to humanity. He had to repay them for protecting him. Of course, if he obtained the five-element spirit tree, he would be able to continuously produce five-element spirit fruits in the future. This was an unimaginable wealth. Chapter 10:30. After obtaining the five-element spirit fruit, Lu Qi, Guo Suni, and Li Yun left. Because they had such precious spirit fruits with them, they didn't dare to stay in this place for long. They were afraid of encountering some unknown danger. If they encountered some monster kings, they would be extremely unlucky. So, they quickly returned to their clans, intending to quickly consume the five-element spirit fruit and advance to the king realm. Once they advanced to the king realm, they probably wouldn't have to worry about anything. So, the three human grandmasters bid farewell to Xiaoping and quickly returned to their clans. It's time to return to the giant island. Xiaoping planned to return to the villa on the giant island, cultivate in seclusion, consume the five-element spirit fruit, and break through to the king realm in one go. He didn't want to continue wasting time here. Swoosh! He walked on the waves and ran quickly. He first went to a nearby human island, found a passenger ship, and then directly took it back to the giant island. Immediately, a figure appeared on the sea. It was like a cannonball, giving rise to boundless huge waves and crashing sounds. It was like a shark swimming in the sea. Suddenly, after Xiaoping had been running for a while, he sensed with his spiritual power that there seemed to be another figure walking on the waves in the distance, running towards him. He sensed that the aura of this figure was slightly familiar, so he couldn't help but stop. Xiaoping looked into the distance and saw a graceful figure appear in front of him. It was a woman. She wore white, tight-fitting clothes on her upper body, showing off her impressive figure. The lower half of her body was covered in a pair of hot pants, revealing most of her fair and slender breasts. Her entire body exuded an extremely sexy aura. Without a doubt, this was a long-legged beauty, a peerless beauty that could move the hearts of countless men. Chu Rong. Xiaoping blinked and immediately realized that it was Chu Rong, who he hadn't seen for a long time. He didn't expect to see Chu Rong again at this time and place. At this moment, Chu Rong seemed to be running at full speed. Her martial arts cultivation had reached at least the sixth heaven of the martial master realm. True essence surged all over her body. Walking on the waves was an extremely simple thing for her. However, she didn't seem to see what was in front of her. She was completely focused on her cultivation. She was charging towards Xiaoping like a car that had gone out of control. Dodge it! When Chu Rong was a dozen meters away from Xiaoping, she finally discovered a figure in front of her. She was shocked. Who would have thought that there would be someone standing in front of her in the endless sea? She knew how fast she was going. It was close to the speed of a supercar. With such a short distance and such a fast speed, it was impossible for her to stop. However, at this speed, the consequences would be unimaginable. If the opponent was a weak martial artist, the collision would probably tear them to pieces. However, Xiaoping didn't move at all, and it just stood there. To him, even an all-out attack from a Purple Mansion Realm Monarch wouldn't be able to do any damage to him. The strength of a mere sixth Heaven Martial Master was just child's play, like scratching an itch. It's over. Chu Rong's heart was burning with anxiety. She didn't think that the person in front of her was simply a madman. He actually didn't move at all. However, she had no other choice but to do her best to reduce her speed. Boom! In the end, she still collided with the figure in front of her. Suddenly, there was a shocking explosion. The surrounding waves were immediately overturned by this shocking force, and there were waves that were more than 10 meters tall. What? Chu Rong originally thought that there would definitely be a traffic accident. Maybe the other party would be smashed into a pile of meat paste, and she wouldn't be able to get away with it. She might even be seriously injured. However, when she really collided with it, she found that her body felt as if it had collided with a ball of cotton. All the force was absorbed and then expelled from the surroundings. Then, her body was surrounded by a gentle force, and she was unharmed. Thank you. Suddenly, Chu Rong knew that this person must be an unimaginable expert. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to dissipate the force of her collision so easily. She immediately rejoiced that she didn't cause any huge casualties. However, she didn't have time to rejoice for long. She immediately heard an extremely hateful voice. Thank you. If it's useful, why do we need the police? Do you know that it's a serious offense to run amok in the endless sea all day long? If I didn't have some skills, I would have been killed by you. This voice was very hateful, and he still tried to blackmail Chu Rong. In short, this matter can't be solved without tens of billions of federal coins. You can do it yourself. Extortion. This is clearly extortion, and it's blatant extortion. Hearing this, Chu Rong was so angry that smoke came out of her 7 orifices, and her lungs were about to explode. What bullshit *T traffic rules? We're already on the sea. Isn't that where I can go however I want? He actually said that this is a traffic accident, and it can't be solved without tens of billions of federal coins. If this isn't extortion, what is it? How can there be such a shameless person in the world? She wanted to thank this senior master before, but she didn't expect that he was simply a shameless bastard. He didn't even let go of the money of a small martial artist like her, and he even wanted to extort tens of billions of dollars. When Chu Rong wanted to raise her head and spit on this shameless senior master's face, she was stunned because the bastard in front of her was actually someone she knew. Xiaoping. Chu Rong couldn't help but shout. She didn't expect to meet Xiaoping at this time and place. It was such a coincidence that she was stunned for a moment. What's Xiaoping? Don't think that you don't need to pay money just because you're familiar with me. Xiaoping looked at Chu Rong fiercely, looking at her like a bully. Bah, pervert! Chu Rong was so angry that her pretty face turned red. She was so angry that she bit down on Xiaoping's hand. But suddenly, she felt as if she had bitten on cowhide, which was extremely tough. No matter how hard she bit, she couldn't leave a bite mark, which made her even angrier. Damn it, why can't I bite it? Chu Rong's beautiful eyes widened. Xiaoping bared his teeth and said, deliberately injuring others is an additional crime. This time, it seems that this problem can't be solved without marrying me. Who'll marry you? Don't even dream about it. Chu Rong's pretty face turned red in an instant, and her beautiful eyes were watery. She still glared at this pervert fiercely. Crash. Chapter 10:31. Oh no, let's run. Chu Rong's expression changed when she saw the 2 or 3 pirate ships approaching. What's wrong? Xiaoping's heart skipped a beat as he asked. Did you provoke these pirates? Chu Rong nodded. Yes, this group of pirates was on an island. They burned, killed, and plundered. They killed a large number of humans. Even children were not spared. Their methods were extremely cruel. So I took action and destroyed this group of pirates. I didn't expect that this group of pirates was only a small team, and they were the trusted subordinates of the pirate boss. As a result, I poked a hornet's nest. She originally had a ship and could sail in the boundless sea, but she was chased by this group of pirates. With a single cannon shot, all her ships were blown up into ashes. She had no choice but to run in the sea, treading on the waves to avoid the pursuit of the group of pirates. I see, a group of little thieves. Xiaoping nodded, expressing his understanding. Chu Rong suddenly became anxious. This is not as simple as little thieves, but the famous Red Skull pirates of the boundless sea. The captain is the son of the Swordfish King, Saber 9. Relying on the name of the Swordfish King, it ran amok in the boundless sea. It recruited countless vicious masters and became a huge force in the boundless sea. Even Saber 9 himself is a great master at the peak of the Grandmaster realm. He is only one step away from entering the King realm. Moreover, he is also favored by the Swordfish King. Even the human army does not dare to attack him easily, lest they offend the Swordfish King and provoke a terrible disaster. She felt that the situation was very serious. She did not expect that killing a group of small pirates would provoke a group of big pirates, and it was the famous Red Skull pirates. The other party's great reputation made her almost breathless. However, even if this happened again, she would not hesitate to kill this group of evil pirates. They have some skills, but even if they want to escape now, it's impossible. Xiaoping nodded as he looked around. What? Chu Rong looked around, but while they were talking, countless merfolk pirates immediately jumped down from the 3 pirate ships. There were hundreds and thousands of them, and they surrounded them. Immediately, her heart tightened. She felt that she was besieged on all sides. Even if she wanted to escape, it was impossible. Among the pirates, the weakest was at the Martial Master realm, and there were many experts at the peak of the Grandmaster realm. Under such an encirclement, a mere Martial Master would be dreaming if he wanted to escape. What made her even more nervous was that a huge 5-meter-tall, muscular, pointy head, like a sharp sword, full of oppression appeared in front of her. Chu Rong had seen the appearance of this Murloc pirate from the wanted poster. This Murloc was undoubtedly Saber 9, the leader of the Red Skull Pirates with a bounty of 30 billion federal coins. Even the leader had been mobilized. It was as if they had turned out in full force. There was no way she could escape. Little girl, run. Why aren't you running anymore? You were pretty fast just now. Even though the ship was destroyed, you were still running as if you were flying. It's really rare to see a human girl like you. Saber 9 looked at Chu Rong with a ferocious expression and a mocking look on his face. If I capture you and sell you to those underwater aristocrats, I'm sure I can get a huge price. For the underwater races, having a human slave of excellent quality was undoubtedly a great honor. Young and beautiful human women, in particular, were in high demand. Just one of them could be auctioned for a huge price. Therefore, this group of pirates often burned, killed, and pillaged the boundless ocean. They did many things like human traffickers, and countless human women had been captured and sold by them. Chu Rong's beautiful eyes showed a trace of anger. She simply hated this group of evil pirates to the extreme. It was precisely because of their appearance that caused countless human families to be destroyed, and the white-haired people had to send their black-haired children away. She had been cultivating in the boundless ocean and traveling everywhere, but had never returned to a safe place because she wanted to uphold justice and protect those weak humans. TSK, you're actually angry. You're really good. A human slave with a sense of resistance like this can be auctioned for a higher price. Those underwater aristocrats are no longer interested in tamed human slaves. Only fresh goods like this will attract big clients to come and buy them. This is the price you have to pay for killing so many of our brothers. Go ahead and be angry. The angrier you are, the happier we'll be. The group of Murloc pirates cackled. They looked at Chu Rong as if they were looking at a turtle in a jar. No matter how hard she struggled, she could not escape from their palms. What are you shouting for? You're so noisy. Xiaoping looked at the group of Murloc pirates calmly. You're out of luck to run into me. Tell me, how do you Murloc pirates want to die? Do you want to be dismembered or fried? His gaze was very calm. He looked at the Murloc pirates as if he was looking at ants. There's a human man by her side? Saber 9 smiled ferociously. Is he this human woman's husband? This is also a good selling point. Many perverted underwater aristocrats like human sex the most, and they like to do it in front of their husbands. Just as well, we can capture him together. We might be able to auction him for a higher price. Haha, today is indeed the Red Skull Pirates' lucky day. We've actually found such precious goods. Go capture them. Whoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, the 2 or 3 Murloc Grandmasters beside Saber 9 had ferocious expressions on their faces. Their figures flickered like lightning, and they arrived in front of Xiaoping and Chu Rong in an instant. They circulated their powerful righteous qi and separated into 3 areas to surround them, sealing off all of their escape routes. They threw a punch, intending to severely injure Xiaoping and Chu Rong in an instant. Only severely injured prey would not resist fiercely. Anyway, they would quickly heal these two humans afterward and then auction them off. Therefore, it was harmless to slightly injure these two prey now. Bang! Xiaoping did not even look at them. 2 or 3 shockingly sharp sword chi instantly erupted from the countless battle blades on his body. With lightning speed, they struck the 3 Murloc Grandmasters viciously. With a splutter, blood splattered onto the surface of the sea. The 3 Murloc Grandmasters let out shrill screams, and a hint of shock appeared in their eyes, as if they did not know what was going on. This was because the speed of the sword chi was just too fast, and it had exceeded the range of their vision. The surrounding Murloc pirates were stunned because they saw that the 3 Murloc Grandmasters had not even gotten close to Xiaoping and Chu Rong when their bodies instantly split open from the middle. From head to toe, they were split in half. Chapter 1032. Chu Rong's beautiful eyes widened instantly. She looked at Xiaoping next to her in disbelief. She was considered close to Xiaoping, but she could not see what exactly he had done. In the blink of an eye, the 3 Murloc Grandmasters had been killed. They could not even escape. Chu Rong, who had elevated to martial master level, was no longer the rookie she had been. The higher her cultivation base was, the more she could sense how terrifying a Grandmaster was. They were invincible powerhouses below the level of a king. Even 100 martial masters would not be a match for a Grandmaster. However, Xiaoping had killed 3 Murloc Grandmasters in an instant. One could imagine his current combat ability. Although Chu Rong had more or less heard of Xiaoping's deeds and knew that he had elevated to Grandmaster level long ago, she did not expect him to be able to kill Murloc Grandmasters in seconds. What happened? 3 Grandmasters were killed in the blink of an eye? This is ridiculous. What exactly did this human do? Many Murloc pirates looked at each other. Although they had lived for a long time and had seen countless powerhouses fighting, they had never seen something like this. The 3 Murloc Grandmasters had died before they could even get close to this human. Moreover, they had died in such a dubious manner. It was too frustrating. However, they immediately knew that this was no ordinary human. They had encountered a tough opponent. The pirate captain, Saber 9, stared at Xiaoping. "Human, what strange tricks did you use? You actually managed to kill 3 of my subordinates. Confess immediately. Otherwise, if I capture you later, you'll wish you were dead." There was a ferocious look in his eyes. "You're too noisy." Xiaoping did not even look at him. He threw a punch, shook his fist, and exploded. Boom! The next second, a solid flaming fist was thrown. It seemed to be able to shake the void. The sea within 5 to 6 kilometers trembled, and the sea churned. At the same time, flames surged and filled the sky. The temperature immediately rose by thousands of degrees, as if it was about to evaporate all the seawater in the area. Oh no! The pirate captain's face turned pale. He sensed that he could not take the punch at all. The punch sealed the sky and locked the earth, sealing off all his escape routes. It sensed that it was not fighting against humans, but against the power of heaven and earth. It was like a towering volcano crashing down from the sky. It was impossible to match. Now it finally understood why the 3 great Murloc Grandmasters couldn't resist at all. How could mortals resist such power? He'd already stepped into the realm of the King realm. Even though it was a cultivator at Grandmaster peak, it was as fragile as a baby in front of such power. "Wait, I'm the son of the Swordfish King. Let's talk this out." Saber 9 started yelling maniacally, trying to beg for mercy. He mentioned his father's identity, hoping that Xiaoping would spare his life. So what if he's the son of the Swordfish King? Even if the Swordfish King is here, he'll still die. Xiaoping sneered. Begging for mercy at this moment was simply wishful thinking. Based on the amount of evil it had done over the years on the boundless sea, and how many humans it had killed, it deserved to die 10,000 times. Even if the Swordfish King came here, he wouldn't be able to save it. Dong! Before Saber 9 could even scream, he took the blow head-on. It was as if he had been hit by the god of fire. His entire body turned into a huge torch, burning fiercely. Then, the power of the flames exploded, and Saber Nine's body was blown into pieces, scattered all over the sea. Fresh blood dripped and dyed the sea red. He's dead. Chu Rong's beautiful eyes widened. She did not know what to think. After all, this was the captain of the Red Skull Pirates, the son of the Swordfish King, a great pirate who had roamed the boundless sea for decades, with a bounty of 30 billion federal credits. Countless humans wanted to kill such a great pirate, but after decades, he was still very much alive and kicking. Instead, those who wanted to kill him were all buried in the sea. Now, however, without any warning, he had died in the boundless sea. It was too unbelievable. Oh my God, the captain is dead. Damn it, this damned human actually dared to kill the captain? This is the Swordfish King's son. He killed the captain. Is he trying to pierce the heavens? It's over, it's over. When the Swordfish King is enraged, the entire boundless sea will be turned upside down. Everyone involved will die. Bastard human, you've really caused our deaths. Go, kill this human and avenge your captain. At the same time, we can lessen our guilt. Many of the merfolk pirates yelled, extremely panicked. They could not imagine how furious the Swordfish King would be if he found out about this. They reckoned that he would even have the heart to slaughter all the humans on the island. Even their subordinates would not be able to escape. They would all be buried with the captain. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 2,000 to 3,000 merfolk pirates jumped off the ship at once. Like an army, they surrounded Xia Ping and Chu Rong from all four directions. Some of them were holding large swords, some were holding sickles, some were holding long spears, and some were holding giant axes. All of them were murderous, as if they had an irreconcilable hatred for Xia Ping. Their eyes were bloodshot. Chu Rong could feel the murderous intent surging from these merfolk pirates. It was almost tangible. If Xia Ping had not been there to defend them, this murderous intent alone would have been enough to crush a martial master. You want to avenge the captain? Go to hell with your captain. For these villains who were full of evil and whose hands were full of human blood, Xia Ping had no intention of showing mercy. With a move of his mind, the countless swords in his hands trembled. Clang! Immediately, there was a crisp sound in the air. In an instant, there were hundreds of thousands of swords thrusting out from Xia Ping's body. At this time, there was only a dazzling cold light left in the whole sky. It seemed that even the sun in the sky had lost its color and began to dim. Chu Rong also felt that the time between heaven and earth seemed to have stopped. With a snap, Xia Ping put away these swords, stood with his hands behind his back, and looked at these merfolk pirates indifferently. Bang! Bang! These merfolk pirates' necks, hearts, and other vital parts immediately exposed a lot of blood, like a fountain spraying in the air. Their heads and necks were separated in this way, and the cut was extremely smooth. The corpses of these merfolk pirates fell into the sea like dumplings. Boom! Even the 3 huge pirate ships in the distance were cut by the sword light. They split from the middle and were directly divided into 2 halves. The pirate flags on them also fell. My God, they're all dead. Chapter 1033. Have you advanced to the King Realm? Chu Rong looked at Xia Ping. Only the King Realm could kill a Grandmaster so easily. Apart from that, there was no other possibility. After all, this was a famous pirate. Countless human Grandmasters had joined forces to kill them, but they couldn't kill them. If Xia Ping was not the King Realm now, how could he destroy this group of Murloc pirates in an instant? Not yet, but soon, Xia Ping said. Chu Rong was speechless and didn't know what to say. She only knew that Xia Ping didn't deny it. Even if he hadn't advanced to the King Realm now, he was not far from it. She felt a burst of suffocation. He was obviously the same age as her, but was he about to advance to the King Realm? If he succeeded, he might be the youngest King Realm in the history of Yanhuang Planet. This was a major event that could shake the entire Cloud Realm. It was more shocking than Xiuxiu and Su Mei's advancement to the King Realm. Not to mention that this bad guy himself was a troublemaker. Who knew how many people he had offended? Don't talk about this. The 3 pirate ships seem to be sinking. I have to search them quickly. Are there any treasures? Xia Ping's figure flickered. He immediately went to the 3 pirate ships and scanned them with his spiritual force. He treated them as his own home and constantly searched for treasures. If he saw anything valuable, he put it into his space ring. The golden slime also jumped out and took advantage of this opportunity to devour the steel of the three ships. The speed of devouring was extremely fast. After half an hour, he had looted all the treasures on the three pirate ships. At this time, the three pirate ships slowly sank into the sea. At this moment, the golden slime also swallowed the steel of the three ships, but still looked very dissatisfied. It didn't even reach 10% full. For the golden slime who had eaten Micah's steel, these ordinary steel could only be regarded as a snack, but it was better than nothing. By the way, the sacred artifact fragment doesn't seem to have any special effect on me. It's better to give it to the golden slime. Xiaoping suddenly remembered the mysterious fragment he traded with Cyan Luan. He took it out and threw it to the golden slime. Slime, sensing the power of this sacred artifact fragment, the golden slime's eyes lit up. As an instinct of blood, it could perceive that this fragment was of great benefit to it. With a slap, it immediately opened its mouth and swallowed the entire holy artifact fragment. Immediately, the golden slime seemed to have indigestion as it rolled around on the ground. What's wrong? Xiaoping blinked and asked Corinne. Corinne stroked his grizzled beard and said, It's nothing. It's just that I can't digest it for the time being. After all, this is a holy artifact fragment. Relying on a newborn golden slime, it will be a little difficult to digest it instantly. But as the golden slimes slowly grow, their digestive abilities will also greatly increase. Once it completely digests this artifact fragment, its power will become extremely terrifying without a doubt. The countless blades it condenses will possess a sliver of the power of a saint artifact. What? Hearing this, Xiaoping immediately became very expectant. A trace of the power of a sacred tool sounded very amazing. It was worth it for him to take out 2 portions of the 5-element spirit fruit to exchange with the Cyan Luan. With a swish, he immediately tossed the golden slime into his space ring. He let it rest for now, allowing it to slowly digest the artifact fragment in his space ring. Then, he took stock of his harvest this time. TSK. As expected of a pirate, they are really rich. Xiaoping was very satisfied. This time, he got a lot of materials, as well as gold, silver, and jewelry from these 3 pirate ships. A rough calculation shows that there are at least more than 100 billion federal coins. Although it is not a particularly large number for him now, it can be regarded as a small harvest, which can make up for some of his financial expenses. If he can kill a few more pirate fleets, he may be able to make a lot of money. What did you find on it? Seeing Xiaoping coming out of the pirate ship, Chu Rong asked curiously. Xiaoping looked at Chu Rong with a smile and said, You want to know? When I become a woman, I will tell you. Who? Who wants to be your woman? You shameless bastard. Chu Rong's fair and tender face turned red in an instant. She subconsciously kicked Xiaoping with her legs. Bang! Xiaoping shot out and blocked it at once. He grabbed her whole leg and pulled it into his arms. Rogue, let me go. Chu Rong felt that her face was burning as if it was about to be cooked. Don't talk nonsense. Hurry up. Let's go to the nearby human island first. You are too slow alone. Xiaoping was very overbearing. He forcibly picked up Chu Rong's whole body. He turned on rampage mode and ran wildly on the sea, like a supersonic plane. At the same time, the aura on his body enveloped himself and Chu Rong, isolating all the surrounding seawater. Otherwise, the whole person would become a drowned chicken. In a few breaths, the two of them disappeared, leaving only a white line in place, and terrifying waves were set off on the sea. At this moment, sensing that Xiaoping and Chu Rong had left, some sirens hiding in the deep sea dared to sneak out. They are all spies of the Red Skull Pirates. They are not combat troops, but soldiers responsible for exploring danger, so they have always been on the sea and not on the ship. Unexpectedly, they barely escaped the disaster because of this and were not killed by Xiaoping. What should we do? Now the captain was killed by this human. That's the Swordfish King's son. This human is really audacious, killing him just like that. He's too savage. But this human's ability is quite terrifying. The captain was killed in one blow. Could he be a king? Many of the sirens were extremely terrified. They were all trembling with fear when they saw the scene just now. The elite troops that they could not hope to catch up to had been killed by this human in an instant. How terrifying was his combat strength? It was simply unimaginable. If they had been at the scene just now, they probably would not have been able to escape death. Even if he's a king, it has nothing to do with us, an old siren said in a low voice. An old sea demon said in a low voice. In short, if we want to survive in the endless sea, we must tell this to the Swordfish King. That's right, if we don't report this and the Swordfish King finds out, we're dead meat. If we report this honestly, the Swordfish King might even reward us. That's right, let's quickly report to the Swordfish King and tell him about the captain's death. Many of the sirens nodded. They immediately moved to report this news to the Swordfish King because Saber9's death could not be concealed. If they reported it first, they might be rewarded greatly. However, if they did not report it, they would be dead meat. Chapter 1034. In the endless sea, on a huge cruise ship, many children were happily chasing each other on the deck, while the adults were leisurely enjoying the rare journey on the sea. They were eating delicious snacks and drinking good wine. It was as if they were singing and dancing to celebrate peace. Boom! At that moment, a dark cloud covered the sky and the sun. The sea surged and countless fishmen appeared. They jumped out from the depths of the sea and climbed onto the cruise ship in an instant. Ah! No, no, no. Help! Help! Spare us! Spare us! My son is only 3 years old. He can't die now. He can't die. Immediately, the entire cruise ship let out miserable screams. Countless humans tried to escape and beg for mercy. However, these fishmen were cruel and merciless. They didn't even spare the women and children. They were ruthless and merciless. One by one, they killed all of them. Even their heads were chopped off. Even though some guards wanted to resist, they couldn't do anything in the face of these merciless fishmen. After 10 minutes, the thousands of humans on the cruise ship were all dead. The surrounding air was filled with a thick stench of blood. If someone were to stand here, they would definitely vomit from the stench. Dong! At that moment, a 10-meter-tall, sharp-edged, gigantic murloc clad in golden armor and carrying a long sword on his back descended from the air and landed on the cruise ship. King! Many mere people prostrated themselves on the ground, respectfully greeting it. This fishman was the king of the sea, the Swordfish King. Well done. The Swordfish King suddenly opened its mouth. Like a whale swallowing, it produced a terrifying suction force. The blood that was originally flowing on the cruise ship and stored in the corpses seemed to be attracted. Whoosh! Immediately, the human blood turned into mist and flew in all directions. They all entered the Swordfish King's mouth and then into its stomach. The human corpses started to dry up at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the end, they turned into dried corpses like mummies. No one knew how long they had been dead. Meanwhile, the Swordfish King's body emitted a blood-red glow. It seemed that the blood-red energy could nourish its body, making its cultivation more powerful and improving. Weak. These humans are too weak. They only have so little blood essence. How can they satisfy my appetite? I really want to slaughter an entire human island. The Swordfish King's eyes flashed with a cruel glint. It was able to advance to king level because it obtained a demonic technique when it was weak. It could devour the flesh and blood of living creatures to strengthen itself. Through such a cultivation method, it improved at lightning speed. However, it also left behind hidden dangers. The higher the realm it cultivated to, the more lives it needed to devour. It became more bloodthirsty, savage, and irrational. From time to time, it would leave the underwater world to devour humans. However, it still had misgivings about the existence of a human king, so it had never dared to attack a human city. It could only forcefully endure and attack a human cruise ship from time to time, burning, killing, and pillaging. Where's my son, Saber9? When is he coming back? The Swordfish King asked in a low, muffled voice. It was looking forward to its son's return because it was the reason why its son had become a pirate. It hoped that Saber 9 would attack human villages and capture countless humans to serve as its food. Over the decades, it had lost count of how many humans its son, Saber 9, had devoured to satisfy its growing appetite. Your Majesty, the prince is out on a mission to attack a small human island. He might be back soon, a Murloc guard replied. Report. At that moment, a group of Murloc scouts returned swiftly and arrived beside the Swordfish King. What happened? Aren't you Saber 9's subordinates? Why are you in such a sorry state? A cold gleam flashed in the Swordfish King's eyes. As a king, it could sense that these scouts had a different aura. Your Majesty, Prince Saber 9 has been killed by humans. Even the elites of the 3 pirate ships were slaughtered. Not a single one was spared, the Murloc scout shouted. The Fishman scout shouted, We only managed to escape back here after risking our lives to avoid the human god of death and bring back this news for our king. What? You must be joking. Prince Saber 9 is dead? That's impossible. Prince Saber 9 is a peak Grandmaster powerhouse. Who in the boundless sea could kill him? Only a king could kill him. That's right. If it was a king, why would he dare to break the agreement between humans and the Ocean Tribe? Does he have a death wish? All the Murlocs present turned pale with fright when they heard this. They would never have thought that they would hear about Prince Saber 9's death at this time. It was too shocking. They could not believe how furious the Swordfish King would be when he found out. As expected, the Swordfish King's eyes turned bloodshot after hearing the news. They were filled with terrifying rage and seethed with murderous intent. How dare they? How dare they? D*MN humans. I didn't go looking for trouble with you, but you dare to come looking for trouble with me? Do these humans have a death wish? Thud. It slammed its palm on the cruise ship. The terrifying palm force permeated every corner of the ship. The entire cruise ship was instantly shattered into pieces, falling into the sea. The palm force even swept across the sea and set off boundless waves, demonstrating the fury of a king. Where exactly is that human now? The Swordfish King's expression was extremely grim. Saber 9 was its most beloved son and was known as the future Demon King. There was a high chance that he would elevate to king level. Even its food was prepared by Saber 9. If Saber 9 died and the entire pirate fleet was destroyed, who would be responsible for its food in the future? No matter what, the Swordfish King was enraged by Saber 9's death. My king, our scout is following the human. According to the direction he's heading, he's most likely headed for Raven Spirit Island, a human island nearby, the Murloc scout said, trembling with fear. The Fishman scout trembled as he spoke. He was afraid that the enraged Swordfish King would smash him into pieces with a single slap and vent his anger on him. Send troops to Raven Spirit Island immediately. Ask them to hand over the human who's the culprit. If they dare to refuse, we'll wipe out the entire island and kill every last one of them. The Swordfish King roared furiously. Its eyes were bloodshot and gleamed with a bloodthirsty gleam. It was going crazy today. Even if it meant offending a human king, it was going to go on a killing spree and slaughter all the humans on the island. Otherwise, what would happen to the Swordfish King's reputation? Anyone could kill the Swordfish King's son. If the Swordfish King did not kill the chicken to scare the monkeys, no one would take the Swordfish King seriously. Yes, my king. Many Murlocs shouted and obeyed the Swordfish King's orders. Chapter 1035. Raven Spirit Island. Half a day later, Xiaoping and Chu Rong finally arrived at a huge human island nearby. This island was very prosperous. There were hundreds of cities built on it, and it could accommodate 40 million people. Countless spaceships would enter and leave this place, constantly trading and bustling with activity. You're crazy. After finally arriving at Raven Spirit Island, Chu Rong couldn't help but want to bite Xiaoping. This bastard didn't care if she couldn't take it or not. He carried her and ran on the sea at supersonic speed. It was like riding in a super sports car at full speed. If it wasn't for her martial master level physique, she would have been swayed to the point of dizziness. Don't be angry. If it wasn't for me carrying you, you wouldn't even know how many days we would have to drift on the sea. You should be grateful to me, Xiaoping said. Grateful my ass. Chu Rong glared at this shameless man. But she had to admit that the reason they could reach Raven Spirit Island so quickly was all because of Xiaoping's strength. If it wasn't for Xiaoping's freakish speed, they would have to drift on the sea for a few more days. But thinking back to his previous speed, she couldn't help but be amazed. Xiaoping's speed had reached a frightening level. If it wasn't for the fact that Xiaoping was sure he was still in the martial master realm, she would have thought he had become a king. This kind of speed wasn't something a human could reach. Anyway, let's find a place to rest first. Tomorrow morning, we'll take a spaceship back to Giant Island. Xiaoping announced his plans. Who's going with you? I still have to continue my trial. Chu Rong wanted to kick him. He didn't even ask for her opinion before deciding on his own schedule. Too overbearing. Not going back to Giant Island? Right now, Jiang Yaru is also on Giant Island, living in my villa. Xiaoping looked at Chu Rong. Yaru is also on Giant Island? Hearing this, Chu Rong was shocked. She didn't expect Jiang Yaru to also be in this bastard's house. The problem was Jiang Yaru also in the trial? Why was he living in this bastard's house? Could it be that SCO was so thirsty that she couldn't wait to become one with this shameless man? She was afraid that he would run away, so she wanted to get close to him first? Shameless woman. Chu Rong gnashed her teeth, and she gnashed her teeth with hatred. Earlier, she'd clearly sworn that there was only the martial Tao in her heart and nothing else, and she'd ceaselessly strive towards the king realm while taking Senior Qiushu and Senior Su Mei as role models. But what was going on now? She had accidentally climbed into a man's bed and was reluctant to come out. Was this still the companion who said that he only had martial arts in his heart and that he would fight together with him? Her heart was filled with a sense of betrayal. She wanted nothing more than to grab Jiang Yaru and interrogate him. Chu Rong carefully thought about it and immediately made a decision. She clenched her teeth and said, "All right, I haven't seen Yaru for a long time. Maybe I can go to the Giant Island to see her." This time, it wasn't just a meeting, it was practically an interrogation. She wanted to ask this shameless woman, Jiang Yaru, whether she wanted a man or martial arts. Then let's find a hotel to stay in for the time being. Xiaoping nodded. Soon, they found a nearby hotel, which was the best 5-star hotel on the island. It covered an area of more than 10,000 acres and was frequented by all sorts of rich and powerful people. Staying there for a night would cost tens of thousands of federal coins. Of course, this amount of money was only a drop in the ocean for Xiaoping. Chu Rong. Just as Xiaoping and Chu Rong arrived at the entrance of the hotel, a surprised voice came from afar. The two of them turned around and immediately saw a young man in a black suit walking towards them. Beside him were a dozen or so tall and burly bodyguards wearing sunglasses and armed to the teeth. There was also an old man in a tang suit. The group of people walked over in a grandiose manner. Their aura was oppressive, and they immediately became the focus of the crowd. After all, it was rare to see a young man like this on the Crow Spirit Island. You are? Chu Rong frowned and looked at the young man with a puzzled expression. She didn't seem to recognize him. The young man in the black suit was immediately stunned. He said, "I'm Zhang Dong. Didn't we meet at the Cold Moon Palace's headquarters? And we even had a pleasant conversation." He had suffered a huge blow. To be honest, he believed that he was extremely charming and hard to forget. Moreover, with his identity and status, who wouldn't want to go up and curry favor with him? But this woman actually didn't recognize him. Her face was filled with confusion. Zhang Dong. Chu Rong seemed to remember. She and Jiang Yaru left Yanhuang University together and followed her master to the Cold Moon Palace's headquarters. At that time, the Cold Moon Palace was hosting a banquet with her own organization. Many big families and organizations attended, including Zhang Dong. At that time, she chatted with Zhang Dong out of politeness. She found out that this young man came from a king family and was the direct heir of the Zhang family. He was of noble birth, but they only chatted for a while. After that, she went out for her training and never saw him again. I remember. We met at the banquet last time. You are the young master of the Zhang family. Chu Rong nodded. Yes. That's right. I am the Zhang Dong from that time. Zhang Dong was instantly overjoyed. This woman finally remembered him. It wasn't easy. But who is this? Suddenly, Zhang Dong noticed Xiao Ping, who was standing beside Chu Rong. Instantly, a trace of extreme jealousy arose in his heart. Where did this gigolo come from? How could he stand beside a goddess like her? How shameless could he be? Could he be one of the servants who specialized in carrying luggage? Zhang Dong thought to himself. He viciously guessed, "Oh, I am her man." Without waiting for Chu Rong to speak, Xiao Ping hugged Chu Rong's slender waist and generously introduced himself. What? Hearing this, Zhang Dong felt as if he had been struck by lightning. It was as if he had been struck by lightning from the sky. His soul almost shattered. He couldn't accept this reality at all. He hadn't even confessed, and the goddess already had man by her side. How could this be? Didn't they say that all the women in the Cold Moon Palace were pure and clean? Why did she fall into the embrace of a gigolo so quickly? And no matter how he looked at it, he was more handsome and had more money. Why would she like this gigolo? Was this woman blind? He couldn't accept it. Chapter 1036. Seeing Chu Rong's little trick, Zhang Dong was so jealous that his intestines turned green. These two hateful adulterers were doing such a shameless thing in public. Did they know what etiquette and shame were? However, he was still very unconvinced. Why did all the good things get F***ed? What was so good about this gigolo? Could it be that he was better than the young master of the Zhang family, a standard tall, rich, and handsome man? Presumably, this pretty boy must have used some dirty trick to deceive Chu Rong and win the heart of this great beauty. If he could see through his little trick, he would definitely make Chu Rong abandon this poor boy and return to the true path of Tao. Thinking of this, Zhang Dong immediately asked, "I see. What's your name?" "Xiao Ping." Xiao Ping smiled slightly. "Xiao Ping? This name is very familiar. I seem to have heard it from somewhere." Zhang Dong was a little puzzled. He instinctively felt that he had heard this name somewhere before. It's normal to have heard of it. After all, this name is very common. It's not strange to have someone with the same name, Xiao Ping said. Zhang Dong nodded. This was indeed the case. He immediately ignored these things and continued to ask, "Looking at you, brother Xia, I guess you come from a rich family. I don't know which family you are from. Maybe we are even family friends?" He quietly inquired about Xiao Ping's background. "I'm not from a big family. I'm just an ordinary person from planet Yinwang." Xiao Ping looked humble. From planet Yinwang. Hearing this, Zhang Dong suddenly became a little arrogant. It turned out that he was a country bumpkin from planet Yinwang. In this case, he must not be a big shot. It was said that there were only a few kings on planet Yinwang. They were all from small families. Compared to the Zhang family, they were simply scum. His own identity was miles ahead of this kid. To tell you the truth, I am a direct descendant of the Zhang family. Zhang Dong began to show off. Although it's not a super family, it still has a king. It can barely be considered a king family. It's not very powerful, and it has a few private islands in the Endless Sea. In the federal government, I can be considered as someone who has a say. Now that we know each other, if you need any help in the future, feel free to come to me. I don't think there will be many things I can't help you with." He patted his chest and revealed a look of superiority, as if he had a powerful background. Chu Rong was speechless. If Zhang Dong knew that the man in front of him was a grandmaster, he would be a very important person in the giant company. The power he held in his hands was many times greater than that of the Zhang clan. It was even to the extent that this bastard seemed to be on the verge of advancing into the king realm, and his authority would simply be monstrous once he became a king. If he really needed the Zhang family's help, the Zhang family wouldn't be able to handle it. Zhang Dong will be scared to death. "Thank you so much. If I have any trouble in the future, I will definitely go to the Zhang family for help. I hope young Master Zhang won't decline at that time." Xiao Ping said with a smile. "You're too kind." Deep down, Zhang Dong despised such a country bumpkin. "Wait till you ask me for help a few times, then you'll know who's better. At that time, Chu Rong will naturally compare and know who's the real outstanding man. At that time, you could just wait to be abandoned. By the way, have you booked a room in this hotel? I'm very familiar with the boss here. Maybe I can give you a 20% discount." Zhang Dong didn't miss the opportunity to show off his vast network. "No need. I've just booked a presidential suite in this hotel online. I'll be checking in later." Xia Ping waved his hand, indicating that he didn't need to trouble Zhang Dong. Presidential suite. Hearing this, Zhang Dong's eyebrows twitched a few times. One had to know that this was a five-star hotel. An ordinary suite for a night would cost 10,000 federal coins, and a slightly better suite would cost 50,000 federal coins. And a presidential suite would cost more than 100,000 federal coins. It was frighteningly expensive. It could be said that Zhang Dong couldn't bear to stay in a presidential suite. He felt that it was purely a scam. After all, even if he was the direct descendant of a king realm family, the Zhang clan had many descendants. There weren't many resources allocated to each of them. Moreover, practicing martial arts required a large amount of money to buy pills, weapons, secret manuals, and so on. Therefore, spending more than 100,000 federal coins just to stay in a so-called presidential suite was too extravagant. It seems that Brother Xia is very rich, Zhang Dong said with a fake smile. He felt that he had underestimated this kid. If this bastard didn't have any good points, perhaps Chu Rong wouldn't have taken a liking to him. Well said, I don't have any good points. I'm just rich, Xia Ping said with a simple and honest face. Damn, why is this bastard's word so annoying? Zhang Dong wanted to punch this B** star in the face. This B** star was obviously a nouveau riche, showing off his wealth everywhere. Zhang Dong said, Brother Xia, you don't look that old. You should still be in university. How could you have so much money? Could it be that your parents gave it to you? He speculated maliciously that this guy might be a prodigal, a bastard who specialized in squandering his family's wealth. No. I'm also from an ordinary family. It's just that when I was in university, I accidentally earned a small fortune. That's why I became rich overnight. I can't even finish spending it, Xia Ping said with a sigh. A small fortune? Chu Rong had a strange expression on her face. She knew about Xia Ping's deeds. It was obvious that he extorted money from the monster kings of Wanyao Mountain. Moreover, the endless sea shark monster king was also killed by him. Some people on the internet said that Xia Ping was the biggest robber of this century. It seemed like he had left his name in history. It was said that the Ministry of Education planned to write this incident into history textbooks. This bastard was so lucky. Zhang Dong gritted his teeth. Damn, why didn't he have the luck to earn a small fortune? He didn't doubt Xia Ping's words. After all, such things happened occasionally in the Cloud Realm. Someone accidentally found a sunken ship with gold and silver on it. As a result, he became rich overnight. Someone also found an ancient ruin and handed it over to the country. In the end, he also received a huge reward. Such fortuitous encounters happened many times in the Cloud Realm, so it wasn't surprising. Brother Xia is really lucky. Zhang Dong laughed. Xia Ping waved his hand. No. My biggest luck is finding a good wife. Money is just a worldly possession. It's not worth mentioning. He hugged Chu Rong's slender waist. Damn, this bastard is still showing off his love here. He's always flirting with girls. Zhang Dong finally understood how this guy managed to win Chu Rong's heart. His glib tongue had reached a certain level. No, if he continued to stay here, he was afraid that he would die from anger. The corner of Zhang Dong's mouth twitched. He immediately said goodbye. Brother Xia, I just remembered that I have something to do. I won't stay here for long. Let's meet again later. Chapter 1037. In a suite of the Brilliance Hotel, Zhang Dong and his entourage came to the suite and stayed there temporarily. I'm so angry. However, Zhang Dong was now full of anger. He gritted his teeth and said, What's so good about Xia Ping? How could Chu Rong fall for such a nouveau riche? It's like a toad lusting after a swan's flesh. He was very unconvinced. Young master, it's not impossible to separate them. A bodyguard next to him rolled his eyes and seemed to have come up with a crooked idea to curry favor with Zhang Dong. Zhang Dong immediately said, What idea? Tell me quickly. Since ancient times, there has been a story that has never changed, and that is the hero rescuing the beauty. The bodyguard said, treacherously, We can find a group of hooligans and ambush Xia Ping outside the hotel. They will beat Xia Ping half to death and put Miss Chu Rong in great danger. At that time, young master, you can shine and save Miss Chu Rong from danger. In this way, Not only can you show off your strength, but you can also make Miss Chu Rong feel grateful. She might even fall in love with you and have feelings for you. He came up with a crooked idea. Not bad, not a bad idea, but these hooligans must be stronger. Otherwise, they'll be beaten by Chu Rong before they can get close. That will be a bit embarrassing. Zhang Dong immediately thought of some flaws in this plan. That's easy. Let the butler do it himself and pretend to be a hooligan. Isn't that enough? According to the butler's strength, wouldn't it be a piece of cake to deal with a martial master? The bodyguard said, "Yes, that's a good idea." Zhang Dong was overjoyed. He turned to the old servant next to him and asked, "Elder Su, what do you think?" The old servant nodded. "If young master wants to do this, I will not refuse. However, I feel that the young man's aura is not simple. He is not someone to be trifled with." He instinctively sensed that Xia Ping's body was emitting a fearsome aura from time to time, but he couldn't find out what it was exactly. He wanted to probe deeper, but he couldn't find anything. Based on his many years of martial arts experience, he felt that the young man was a bit unusual. Humph, what's so special about him? He's just a college student, a country bumpkin from Yanwang Star. I can beat such a person down in minutes. Zhang Dong said disdainfully, looking down on Xia Ping. In any case, this matter is decided. When those two leave the Brilliance Hotel, we'll find an opportunity to execute the hero saving the damsel in distress plan. He was immensely proud of himself, as if he could already see Chu Rong's expression. Clang! Clang! At this moment, the entire island was filled with the crisp sound of a bell. The sound was clearly transmitted to everyone's ears. What's that sound? Zhang Dong was very unhappy because this sound had interrupted his fantasy. Elder Su's face fell. Oh no, that's the alarm. It's only when the island is being invaded by sea demons and the island is in danger of being destroyed. It's a warning to the residents of the island to hide and not go out. What? Many bodyguards turned pale. Sea monsters invading? This was no different from a demon attacking a city. Ever since the humans and the sea monsters reached an agreement, sea monsters rarely attacked an island. However, when it did happen, blood would flow like a river and many people would die. They had been out in the world for a long time, so they naturally knew how terrifying it was for sea monsters to attack an island. It was like a war between humans and sea monsters. Sea monsters invading? What's going on? Why did they suddenly attack this island? No matter how stupid Zhang Dong was, he knew that the situation was extremely serious. If the sea monsters broke through the island's defense, they would all die. The sea was vast, and it was impossible to escape. Leaving the island would only lead to death. I'm not sure. Let's go out and take a look, Elder Su said immediately. He wanted to figure out what was going on. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. It was not only Elder Su and the others who had such thoughts. Every Grandmaster cultivator on the island came out from various places and came to the shore of the island, wanting to know what was going on. Xiaoping and Chu Rong were among them. They originally wanted to go back to their rooms to have a good rest, but when they heard the alarm, they ran out immediately. Outside the island, a vast army of sea demons suddenly appeared. They were densely packed, and there were more than hundreds of thousands of them. In an instant, they surrounded the island so tightly that not even a drop of water could escape. Many warships of the Raven Spirit Island also appeared outside the island, confronting the group of sea monsters. In front of the group of sea monsters stood a terrifying monster with a long sword on its back. Its body emitted an overwhelming sense of existence, as if it was the only existence in the world. Swordfish King. Many Grandmasters of the Raven Spirit Island immediately saw the monster, and all of them were shocked. What's going on? Why is the Swordfish King here? Damn it! Is the Swordfish King here to attack our Raven Spirit Island? It's over, it's over. Even the king is going to attack. How can these fleets stop it? The group of human martial masters had ugly expressions on their faces. If the Swordfish King wasn't here, they wouldn't have to worry about the sea demon army. They could have easily repelled them. If they were lucky, they could even annihilate them in one fell swoop. However, the Swordfish King was here, and it was a completely different story. The Swordfish King alone could annihilate the entire Navy fleet. There was no way they could stop it. It's over. The Swordfish King is here, and the Demon King is here. It seems that this matter will not end peacefully. Su Lao's face changed, and he immediately realized the seriousness of the matter. What should we do now? Can we escape? Zhang Dong's face changed. He was scared half to death, and his legs were trembling. He was a direct descendant of the Zhang family, and he had a bright future. He could not die silently on the Raven Spirit Island. There's no other way. We are surrounded by sea monsters. If we dare to go out, we will immediately become the target of the sea monsters, and we will die even faster. We have to wait and see. Fortunately, the Lord of the Raven Spirit Island is also a king, and he might have a way to stop the Swordfish King. Su Lao gritted his teeth. Although he was a grandmaster, he was still powerless against the king. Boom! At this moment, a terrifying aura spread out from the depths of the Raven Spirit Island, and the area within a few hundred kilometers was trembling. Immediately, a figure soared into the sky and stood in the air. He arrived in front of the human army and confronted the Swordfish King. It was an old man in a gray robe. He was the Lord of the Raven Spirit Island, Wu Baibian, a Purple Mansion realm cultivator. Chapter 1038. Wu Baibian. The Swordfish King said coldly, "I'm only here for one thing, and that is to apprehend the human murderer who killed my son, Saber 9. He's now on the run to Raven Spirit Island. Hand over the murderer immediately, or I'll slaughter Raven Spirit Island and leave no one alive." Its voice was like waves, each wave higher than the one before. It covered the entire Raven Spirit Island in an instant, and almost every human on the island could hear it clearly. As for the Grandmaster-level cultivators who were closer, they could hear the rumbling of thunder as if their heads were about to shatter. They were all horrified. A mere roar was already so terrifying. If the Swordfish King really attacked with all his might, how terrifying would it be? What? Saber 9's dead, and he was killed by humans? Wu Baibian was shocked. He had heard of Saber 9, the famous great pirate of the boundless ocean. It was said that he had committed many evil deeds and killed countless humans. He was regarded as a thorn in the side of humans. There had always been human kings who wanted to kill Saber 9, but they did not because they were wary of the agreement between humans and the Ocean Tribe. As a result, Saber 9 had wreaked havoc for decades. However, he did not expect that someone would personally kill the great pirate Saber 9 today. It was no wonder that the Swordfish King was so furious that he disregarded the agreement and led his army to the border. Swordfish King, this is only your side of the story. Your son, Saber 9, has committed many evil deeds. Not only did he offend humans, but he also offended many other Ocean Tribe tribes. Wu Baibian immediately felt that he could not admit to this. He said, "If your son was killed by other tribes and you're pushing the blame onto us humans, we won't take the blame." He did not admit that this had happened at all, and he even pushed the blame onto other tribes. Shut up. The Swordfish King was furious when he heard that. You humans still dare to quibble when there are witnesses and material evidence. However, since you want to see the evidence, I'll show you. This is the portrait of the human murderer who killed my son, as well as the portrait of the bee *TCH next to him. With a whoosh, he took out a piece of white paper that was 5 meters long and 5 meters wide. Xiaoping's and Chu Rong's portraits were drawn on it. They were extremely realistic, as if they had been taken by a camera. These fishermen scouts were not only experts at tracking, but also experts at drawing. They were able to accurately depict what they saw. Only then could they become excellent scouts. At this moment on the distant coast, countless human grandmasters also saw this scene. Even though they were far away, with their eyesight, they could clearly see the portrait on the portrait. Some martial artists whose eyesight was not as good as a grandmaster also used binoculars to observe the situation in the distance. Zhang Dong was one of the martial artists using binoculars. When he saw the portrait, he could not help but shout, "What? Isn't this Miss Chu Rong and that bastard gigolo?" He immediately recognized Xiaoping and Chu Rong. Elder Su also nodded his head. His eyes shone brightly. He had also recognized it. Brother Zhang. Suddenly, a voice rang out. At the same time, a large hand gently patted Zhang Dong's shoulder. Xiaoping. Zhang Dong immediately turned around and was shocked. He stared in shock at the people behind him. It was Xiaoping and Chu Rong. Brother Zhang, you guessed correctly. I'm the one who killed the Swordfish King's son, Saber 9. I heard that Brother Zhang is the heir of a ruler family. I wonder if you can solve this problem and cover for me? Xiaoping blinked and looked at Zhang Dong with an innocent expression. Cover for you, my foot. Zhang Dong was so angry that he almost cursed out loud. You bastard, you've done such a terrible thing and even provoked the Swordfish King to come after you. You still want the Zhang family to cover for you? You must be dreaming. The Swordfish King was a demon king who had roamed the seas for countless years. Even the Zhang family's elder ancestor had to be polite to the Swordfish King, not daring to offend him. If the Zhang family's elder ancestor found out that he had offended the Swordfish King and was the scapegoat for someone else, many elders in the Zhang family would want to strangle him on the spot. They would want to kick him back into his mother's womb. Brother Zhang, do you think it's inappropriate that the money isn't in place? If you can solve this problem, any amount of money won't be an issue. I don't have anything else. I just have a lot of money. Xiaoping put on a look of wealth and patted his chest. A lot my asterisk guess. Zhang Dong wanted to slap this shameless nouveau riche. How could the Swordfish King's wrath be solved with money? I'm afraid that your entire fortune won't even be a fraction of the Swordfish King's. How dare you say that you want to solve the problem with money? What do you think a ruler is? You really are a country bumpkin from planet Yin Huang who has never seen the world. You don't even know how terrifying the word ruler is. It represents supremacy. Brother Xia, please forgive me for being powerless. I really can't cover for you. Zhang Dong was extremely aggrieved. His face was flushed. Even though it was a little embarrassing to say these things in front of the girl he liked, he had to say it. After all, this was too big of a scapegoat. If he really carried it, he would probably collapse. Can't cover for you? Didn't you say that you're a direct descendant of the Zhang family? Why can't you cover for me? Call the Zhang family's ancestor out. This dead fish will be taken care of in minutes, Xiaoping shouted. Country bumpkin, that's the Swordfish King, not a dead fish. You're still running your mouth, even at death's door. Zhang Dong panicked. He wanted nothing more than to stuff this bastard's mouth. If the Swordfish King heard this, he would probably be even angrier. How could they criticize a ruler? If the Swordfish King was enraged, it wouldn't matter if this bastard died, but he would be implicated. Moreover, even if the Zhang family's ancestor came out, he probably wouldn't be able to deal with the Swordfish King. After all, they were both kings of the same level, and the difference in strength wasn't that big. In fact, the Swordfish King might even be stronger with the physique of the sea race. My ancestor is too far away from here. Distant water can't put out a nearby fire, Zhang Dong said sullenly. He reluctantly found an excuse and pushed it over. That's true. Xiaoping nodded. Looks like we'll have to solve this problem ourselves. It's better to rely on ourselves than on others. He was very emotional and glanced sideways. Damn it, beg your ass. Zhang Dong bared his teeth, and the corner of his mouth twitched a few times. He was furious. You're the one who caused this, and you're still acting all high and mighty? How shameless are you? He could immediately hear the sarcasm in this kid's words. He was clearly saying that the Zhang family wasn't strong enough. If they couldn't even cover up for this kind of thing, it seemed like the Zhang family wasn't all that great. In truth, if it wasn't for the fact that the Swordfish King was right in front of him, and that he was afraid that his reckless actions would be discovered by the Swordfish King and lead to a disaster, he would have rushed up and beat this kid up. Chapter 1039. At that moment, Xiaoping and Zhang Dong's chat was put aside. At that moment, Wu Baibian casually looked at the piece of white paper and said, You can always find a way to pin a crime on someone. Who knows if you guys found a portrait of a random person and came here to cause trouble for us humans. I advise you to leave as soon as possible. I have already reported this to the Human Alliance government. Invincible kings will arrive soon. By then, it will be too late even if you want to escape. He did not admit to this at all, believing that the Swordfish King had forged the evidence. Despicable humans. The Swordfish King was furious. I knew that humans are shameless creatures, but I never thought that you would still act shamelessly when there is evidence. Do you have a death wish? Even if invincible kings wanted to come here, it would take them half a day. During this time, I will slaughter everyone on Spirit Crow Island, leaving no one alive. Boom! In an instant, the Swordfish King could not take it anymore. He immediately attacked, slashing out with a red sword on his back. A red, demonic sword aura came from the sky. It was as if there were countless ghosts wailing in the air, causing the souls of the humans nearby to tremble. It seemed as if they were about to go crazy. What? Wu Baibian did not expect the Swordfish King to actually dare to attack. His body flashed as he used his ultimate technique, the 100 transformations of the dragon fish. Whoosh! Whoosh! Countless silhouettes of Wu Baibian suddenly appeared in the air. They were like a swimming fish, constantly swimming in the air, displaying exquisite body techniques to dodge the attack of the sword aura. Boom! The sword chi landed on a small island below, instantly razing it to the ground. The entire rock was reduced to dust, and boundless waves that were more than 10 meters tall were raised. Many human Master Stage Masters were shocked. If that sword aura had hit them, dozens of Master Stage Masters would have been killed or injured. They would not have been able to withstand it at all. The Swordfish King roared and waved the red demon's sword in his hand. You're just imitating the movement techniques of the merfolk. How dare you embarrass yourself in front of me? Die. It was the ultimate technique, the bloodthirsty soul devouring sword technique. Suddenly, dense red sword aura appeared all around him. The red sword aura turned into skeletons, baring their fangs and pouncing on Wu Baibian. These sword chi enveloped an area of tens of miles, making it almost impossible for Wu Baibian to dodge. With a squelch, a red sword chi instantly tore through Wu Baibian's skin, leaving a trail of blood. It was just a tiny trace of blood, but it made Wu Baibian scream. What is this? Wu Baibian was shocked. This was clearly just a slight injury, a trace of blood. According to the physique of a king, it should have quickly recovered. But now, there were such bloody scars on his body, and he couldn't recover at all. It seemed that there was demonic energy blocking his body's healing ability, and it was constantly devouring the essence of his flesh and blood. Haha, foolish humans. This king possesses a prized artifact, the Blood Demon Sword. Once struck by this sword, you will immediately be cursed and the wound will never heal. Only when the demon's sword completely devours your soul will it stop. The Swordfish King's expression was ferocious. You want to fight this king? You're crazy. You have no idea how strong an enemy you're fighting. It was like a crazed devil, unforgiving after gaining the upper hand. It continued to brandish the devil's sword in its hand, and streaks of red sword chi interweaved to form a large net that enveloped Wu Baibian. Even though Wu Baibian used the 100 transformations of the fish dragon and his fist arts, he still couldn't block it. Over 100 wounds appeared on his body, and large amounts of blood flowed out, turning him into a man of blood. What terrified him the most was that his life force was continuously flowing away. His power was growing weaker and weaker, while the Swordfish King was growing stronger and stronger. As time passed, he would soon be finished off by the Swordfish King. I didn't think I'd be able to kill a human king today. If I eat you, this king will quickly ascend to the fulfillment realm. At that time, I will definitely be able to roam the endless sea. The Swordfish King laughed savagely, and his attacks became even more vicious. Bang, bang, bang. The two kings clashed in midair, creating a series of loud explosions. It was as if a nuclear bomb had gone off, and the sea within dozens of kilometers trembled. The human soldiers and fishman soldiers all retreated over 100 kilometers, not daring to approach the battle between kings. If they were caught in the shock waves, they would die without a doubt. After hundreds and thousands of collisions, the Swordfish King found a flaw in Wu Baibian's defense. With a stab, Wu Baibian was sent flying off Crow's Spirit Island. Rumble! Wu Baibian immediately let out a shrill scream. He was like a meteorite smashing into the island. In an instant, everything within a dozen kilometers was razed to the ground. The shockwave condensed into substance and spread out in all directions. Many tall buildings, shops, and residences were razed to the ground, instantly turning into dust. Fortunately, This place had long since become an uninhabited area. The residents had long since been evacuated to air raid shelters. Otherwise, there would have been heavy casualties. However, Wu Baibian was extremely miserable at this moment. His body was covered in dense wounds, and large amounts of blood flowed out. He was like a man made of blood, and his breathing was weak. He no longer had the strength to fight. It's over. It's all over now. Even the island master is no match for the Swordfish King. Who else can stop this demon king? Where's the federal government? Immediately notify the federal government and ask them to send invincible kings over. This won't do. We're too far away from Flaming Yellow Island. Even if an invincible king wants to come, it will take a certain amount of time. After all, things happen too quickly. I'm afraid the invincible kings don't even know about this. What do we do now? Are we all going to die here? Seeing that Wu Baibian, the king, was no match for the Swordfish King at all, many humans were in despair. Without Wu Baibian blocking the Swordfish King alone could probably slaughter them all. Even if they wanted to escape, it was unrealistic. The sea was vast. Once they entered the sea, it would be the fishmen's territory, and they would die even faster. It could be said that apart from fighting to the end, there was no other way. Haha, I am indeed an invincible being. After beating Wu Baibian half to death with one sword strike, the Swordfish King was extremely pleased with himself. He waved his hand and said, "Convey this king's order. Immediately attack the Crow Spirit Island. Burn, kill, pillage, and spare no one." It didn't care about the so-called murderer at all. First, it would slaughter all the humans on this island. If it couldn't find this island, then it would go to the next human island until it found the human murderer. Chapter 1040. Is this kid out his mind? How dare he go out alone? Do you want to die? Zhang Dong immediately recognized that the person who spoke was Xia Ping. He was stupefied. That was the Swordfish King, a demon king. Did he not see it? Even the king-level lord of Raven Spirit Island, Wu Baibian, was in such a miserable state. He was beaten half to death, lying on the ground, unable to move. It was impossible for anyone else to fight against the Swordfish King. They would only be sending themselves to their deaths. Does he want to sacrifice his life in exchange for the safety of the entire island? Zhang Dong thought about it and felt that the kid had found his conscience. He wanted to use his life to appease the Swordfish King's anger. If that was the case, the kid had a conscience. That's impossible. Su Lao shook his head. It's meaningless even if he goes out to die. It's not a problem that can be solved with his death alone. The Swordfish King is making such a big fuss. He won't just kill one person to end this. He won't stop until he slaughters all the humans on the island to scare the monkeys. He had many years of life experience. He could tell at a glance that the Swordfish King was not only trying to avenge his son, but also trying to establish his dominance in front of the humans. Even if Xia Ping was killed, it would not stop the Swordfish King from slaughtering the island. How could this be? Zhang Dong's face was pale, and his legs were trembling. He cursed Xia Ping in his heart. Of all places to hide, the bastard chose to hide on Raven Spirit Island. Now, he had harmed others and himself. Many people would have to pay with their lives. If God had given him another chance, he would never have come to Raven Spirit Island again. However, it was too late now. At that moment, many of the human masters on the island noticed Xia Ping's appearance, and an uproar broke out. Who is this kid? How dare he face the Swordfish King? He's too bold. Didn't you see? This kid is the one who killed the Swordfish King's son, Saber 9. What? He's the one who provoked the Swordfish King? Oh my God, he's really on the island. It's over. He's just sending himself to the Swordfish King. Many of the human masters thought that this kid was done for. If he dared to face the Swordfish King alone, he would be torn to pieces in an instant, leaving nothing behind. Xia Ping. Chu Rong was also shocked. She didn't think that Xia Ping would dare to go out at this time. She was worried that the Swordfish King would kill him in a single move. But thinking of Xia Ping's strength before, he destroyed the famous Red Skull pirates in a few breaths. That kind of godlike strength might be able to compete with the Swordfish King. She felt much more at ease when she thought of this. Actually, if she thought about it carefully, this scoundrel was a coward. He wouldn't have dared to face the Swordfish King directly if he didn't have enough confidence. Human. The Swordfish King was also taken aback. It didn't expect that there would still be a human who dared to stand out after seeing it display its might and cripple the human king, Wu Bai Bian. However, when it saw the human's face clearly, rage surged within it. So it's you. Are you the one who killed my son, Saber 9? Xia Ping's appearance was clearly the same as the human in the portrait. That's right, my king. It's this human who killed our captain. A Murloc scout shouted from behind. Behind him, a Fishman scout cried out loudly. Now that he had the Swordfish King to back him up, he was extremely bold and immediately came out to testify. Xia Ping stepped on the air and stood with his hands behind his back. That's right. If it's that sharp-headed Murloc, then I'm the one who killed it. I chopped off its head with a swing of my sword, and it didn't feel any pain. Later, I was worried that it would be lonely on its journey, so I sent its subordinates to hell with it. Now it seems like it wants to ask its father to go down with it. What a coincidence. He looked at the Swordfish King calmly. How dare you? The Swordfish King was so angry that its chest was about to explode. Not only did this bastard human want to kill it, but he even wanted to kill it as well. How dare he? Who did he think he was? Damned human. How dare you kill my son? How dare you? How dare you kill me? The Swordfish King's son. I won't kill you easily today. I'll capture you and torture you for 3 days and 3 nights before I let you die. It glared at Xia Ping with a murderous look in its eyes. Thud! Xia Ping suddenly attacked as soon as it finished speaking. In a flash, he arrived before the Swordfish King and kicked the Swordfish King's chest. The kick was like a primordial wild elephant raising its trunk. It contained tremendous force and had the power to destroy mountains and rivers, and it exploded on the Swordfish King's chest. The air exploded, and hundreds and thousands of tremors reverberated. In the next second, the Swordfish King was caught off guard and took the kick head-on. It was sent flying like a cannonball, eventually crashing on a deserted island several miles away. Rumble! Immediately, the deserted island collapsed, and the Swordfish King's body caved in as well. There seemed to be dozens of huge cracks on the island, and it was about to shatter the island into a dozen pieces. The surrounding sea was turbulent. With the deserted island as the center, it was affected by the shock waves, causing waves of 20 to 30 meters tall to hit the shore. King! Many monsters' eyes popped out, and they couldn't help but yell. They were all stunned. They didn't expect that the human would dare to make the first move and kick their king. The speed was just too fast. Even if they wanted to help, they wouldn't be able to. That's too brutal. On the island, the human masters were also stunned. They could all feel the power of the kick, and it was definitely not something a master could withstand. They thought that if they were to withstand the kick, they would be torn into pieces in an instant, and their bodies would explode in mid-air. It was not something a master could perform. It can't be. Is this young man a king? Many human masters couldn't help but think the same. After all, even if a king was careless, they wouldn't be ambushed by a master. The moment a master made a move, the king would sense it, and their bodies would react. But now, the Swordfish King couldn't even react. It was not hard to imagine the power of Xia Ping's kick. Human. With a dong sound, the small desolate island immediately split apart into several pieces, forming huge islands and reefs. Smoke and dust rose in all directions, filling a circumference of several kilometers. And from the smoke and dust, a figure flew out. It was obviously the Swordfish King. At this moment, the Swordfish King was very miserable. The skin all over his body was cracked, and there were many wounds on his body. Large amounts of blood flowed out, and even his lungs were injured. Chapter 1041. He's not dead, as expected of the Swordfish King, an expert of the sea demon race. His skin is really thick. I wonder how many times he can take a beating. Xia Ping raised his eyebrows and praised. Hearing such praise, the Swordfish King was furious. As a demon king, he was praised by the enemy for having thick skin. This was not a compliment, but a mockery. He was mocking him for being a punching bag that could only take a beating. How could the arrogant Swordfish King, who looked down on all humans, endure such mockery? I've changed my mind. I want you dead right now. The The Swordfish King shouted angrily. His voice reverberated like a war drum, spreading for dozens of kilometers. The fish in the sea could not withstand such a sound wave. Hundreds of thousands of them were killed, their white bellies open, floating in the sea. Bloodthirsty, soul-devouring sword. It gripped the blood demon sword in its hand tightly and attacked Xiaoping. Suddenly, hundreds of blood-colored sword qi appeared in the air, and the shadows of many demons could be vaguely seen. This kind of evil blood qi alone was enough to make countless creatures with weak wills go crazy. Their souls would probably be crushed by the evil blood qi before the sword qi could reach them. Even creatures with strong wills would be stunned for a moment when facing the attack of the evil blood qi. The Swordfish King could take advantage of this opening to kill the enemy. This was the terror of the blood demon sword. Oh no, that's how the Lord of Raven's Spirit Island was killed. It's over. I don't know if this young man can block it or not. Many of the human grandmasters felt their hearts tighten. They already knew how terrifying this blood demon sword was. The famous island lord of Raven's Spirit Island, a dignified king realm cultivator, was defeated by this blood demon sword without being able to fight back. Not bad. Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. He sensed the surroundings with his mind power and immediately sensed the sword qi coming for him. It was indeed a supreme sword qi that could kill kings of the same level. It was indeed extraordinary. The terrifying, baleful aura coming at him caused him to have many illusions. It was as if there were countless demons pouncing at him, howling crazily and wanting to tear his soul apart. It was as if he was in purgatory. If it was against an ordinary king, it might be of some use. However, Xiaoping's soul power was countless times stronger than an ordinary king's. It was like a giant pillar, so how could this baleful aura even shake it? Sun God Fist. In the blink of an eye, he took a step forward in midair and threw out a punch. At this moment, countless acupoints and meridians in Xiaoping's body were trembling. All of his astral energy was gathered together and transmitted out inch by inch until it reached his fist. Rumble! In that instant, his fist blasted out a ball of scorching flames. It was as if a sun had descended, and the temperature within a radius of several dozen kilometers rose rapidly. The surrounding sea was evaporated by the terrifying flames, emitting a large amount of white steam. Smoke lingered in the air, as if one was in the middle of a volcano with boiling magma. Even the humans far away on the Raven Spirit Island could feel the scorching flames. Their skin was scalded, and they were about to scream. Some of their clothes were even set on fire. They couldn't help but retreat a few kilometers. Only then did they feel a little better. Whoosh! When the fist blasted out, the blood-colored sword aura coming from afar suddenly melted like snow. Those demons seemed to be roasted by the scorching yang qi, and they were quickly turned into ashes. All of a sudden, they collapsed in this world. How is this possible? The sword aura of my blood demon sword was extinguished with one punch? The Swordfish King was dumbfounded. Its invincible blood-colored sword aura had contributed immensely to the battle up until now. Even a king of the same level would not be able to withstand it, let alone a master. But now, this human had destroyed its sword aura with one punch, making it disappear into the void. It could not accept this. Go to hell. Xiaoping did not want to answer the Swordfish King at all. He threw another punch. Waves of heat rolled out, as if dozens of volcanoes were erupting at the same time. A large amount of solidified magma spewed out, blasting towards the Swordfish King. This punch locked onto all of the Swordfish King's aura, covering an entire area. Even a single drop of flame could burn the ground. This was the flame of the essence of the sun, extremely young and unyielding, capable of burning all impurities. To a demonic sword like the Blood Demon Sword, it was the greatest nemesis. Oh no! The Swordfish King yelled. It circulated its magical power, and the Blood Demon Sword flashed with blood-colored light. A huge blood-colored sword aura immediately burst out, trying to block the punch. But it was useless. Dong! The two forces collided, and the blood-colored sword aura immediately disintegrated. It was surrounded by a huge golden flame, and the demonic aura within was completely burned away. The flame even surrounded the Swordfish King, covering its entire body. The terrifying fist force seeped in inch by inch, directly injuring the Swordfish King's organs. Immediately, the Swordfish King was like a rubber ball, rolling in the air. Finally, it flew across the sea for a few kilometers and finally smashed into a deserted island nearby. With a few cracking sounds, the entire deserted island was shattered and spider web-like cracks appeared. At the same time, the Swordfish King's body was engulfed in flames, burning crazily. Too strong. In the distance, the humans on the island were all stunned. Through the surveillance drones, they sent back all kinds of battle recordings, and they were all shocked by the power of this punch. Previously, when the Lord of Raven Spirit Island fought with the Swordfish King, he was beaten miserably by the Swordfish King's blood demon sword, and almost had no power to fight back. This was enough to prove the Swordfish King's strength. But now, the Swordfish King used the same method, but was seriously injured, and could not even take 2 punches from Xiaoping. At this moment, the Lord of Raven Spirit Island, Wu Baibian, also struggled to get up and barely recovered a bit of strength. Watching the battle, he was also shocked. When did such a terrifying young king appear in the heavenly realm? He actually beat the famous Swordfish King in such a state, and he could not even fight back. Young master, are we still going to carry out the hero, saving the damsel in distress plan? The bodyguard beside Zhang Dong was so shocked that his eyeballs almost popped out. His mouth was wide open, and he could not close it for a long time. Save your ass. Zhang Dong wanted to slap the bodyguard's face. His face was green, and his whole body was trembling. What kind of stupid idea was this? Fortunately, they did not have time to carry out the hero, saving the damsel in distress plan. Otherwise, based on this kid's strength, those bandits would have been smashed into ashes before they could even get close. If that demon knew that he was the one who did this, even his ancestor would not be able to save him. Chapter 1042. I remember now. He is Xiaoping. It's Xiaoping. A human grandmaster suddenly shouted. Looking at Xiaoping's face, he suddenly remembered something. After his reminder, the other humans seemed to have turned on their memories. Memories flooded out like a tide. Indeed, I also remember now. He is Xiaoping, the recent champion of the Genius Contest. My God, I have heard of many amazing things he has done before. I didn't expect to see him here. He kidnapped the demon saint and saintess, extorted money from the Thousand Monster Mountain, became a thorn in the side of the Thousand Monster Mountain, and was once chased by the Demon King. I heard that he recently robbed the Shark Demon King and emptied his house. I heard that he has become a grandmaster at the age of 19. T. He is not just a grandmaster. He is already a challenger. Even the Swordfish King was chased by him. What else can he be if not a challenger? My God, he has become a challenger at the age of 19. Have you heard of such a thing? I've never heard of it. This is the first time. I guess he is the youngest challenger in human history. Many human grandmasters were shocked. They recalled the things that Xiaoping had done in the past. Each of them was earth-shattering enough to shake the entire cloud realm. They also remembered that this kid had offended countless demon kings and was even chased by them. However, he was still alive and kicking. God knew how many demon kings were furious and even hated him to the bone. But now, he had become a challenger and was suppressing the Swordfish King. No wonder I felt that this kid was familiar. So this kid is the famous Xiaoping. Zhang Dong also recalled that he had heard Xiaoping's name countless times from his ancestors. His family elders had even used Xiaoping's deeds to educate him, telling him to follow his example. When he heard that, he wanted nothing more than to give that detestable Xiaoping a good beating. But now they had actually met. This legend had appeared in front of him. No wonder he is so powerful. Zhang Dong regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. Previously, because Xiaoping came from planet Yanhuang, he looked down on this kid and thought that he was a country bumpkin. But in the blink of an eye, he realized that he was no longer worthy of Xiaoping. No matter what, Xiaoping now had the combat power of a challenger. His status was not inferior to the Zhang family's old ancestor. If he was willing, he could immediately create a king clan. It could be said that he alone was a clan. There were too many good-for-nothings like him, descendants of sovereign clans in the Cloud Realm. How could they compare to such a peerless genius? Previously, he was still acting tough, thinking that the country boy couldn't compare to him. Now that he thought about it carefully, this idea was simply ridiculous. With his current achievements, he probably couldn't even compare to Xiaoping's toes. This was because the difference between the king realm and those below the master realm was simply too great. It was like the difference between clouds and mud. Fortunately, I didn't do it. Elder Su was also very glad. If they had really made a move back then, not only would they have been beaten half to death, but they would also have completely offended such a peerless monster. The Zhang clan's old ancestor would probably want to slap them to death. After all, he was only 19 years old, and he already had the battle power of king. So, in the future, he would definitely become an invincible king. No one would doubt this. Damn it. At this moment, the Swordfish King struggled up from the rubble and glared at Xia Ping in the sky. It gripped the blood demon sword tightly. Even though a large amount of blood was pouring out of its body, it didn't lessen the fiendish aura it exuded. Whoosh! Xia Ping didn't waste any time talking to the Swordfish King. He used the Kuan Peng steps and threw a punch at the Swordfish King. Dozens of fist prints appeared in the air, solidifying. The Swordfish King used all of its skills and kept waving the Blood Demon sword in its hand, triggering waves of Blood Demon sword chi in an attempt to break down Xiaoping's attack. However, it was to no avail. These fist prints contained the essence of the sun. Any extremely cold energy would be completely burned away like ice and snow, quickly melting in the world. With a boom, the Blood Devil sword chi instantly disappeared, burned to ashes without leaving anything behind. The Swordfish King's body was also hit by dozens of punches. The powerful fist power bombarded its body, shattering dozens of bones in its body and making cracking sounds. If it wasn't for the strong body of the Swordfish clan, but a human, it would have been beaten into a pile of meat by now. At this moment, it finally woke up from its madness, realizing that it was definitely not a match for this young human. Continuing to fight would only lead to death. Stop, stop, stop. Just when Xia Ping was about to make another move, the Swordfish King shouted, Do you need something? Xia Ping stopped and looked down at the Swordfish King. The Swordfish King said, Brother Xia, I was wrong this time. I had eyes but failed to see and offended you. I hope you can be merciful and stop for now. It humbled itself, hoping that Xia Ping would stop attacking. Stop for now. Xia Ping laughed when he heard this. You're not going to avenge the death of your son? No, no, no. To be honest, I've thought about it carefully. My son brought this upon himself. He committed all sorts of evil and killed countless humans. You killing him is doing the people a favor. The Swordfish King shouted, expressing that it didn't want revenge. For a moment, the humans on the island were stunned. They didn't expect the Swordfish King to say something like this. Not only did it beg for mercy from Xia Ping, but also wanted to give up on revenge. It said that Xia Ping killed its son to get rid of a scourge for the people, and that it was the right thing to do. Its ability to change expressions was comparable to a chameleon. Many human masters didn't expect a demon king to be so humble just to beg for mercy from a human. They hadn't even heard of such a thing, let alone seen it. Are you begging for mercy? You want me to spare your life? Xia Ping raised an eyebrow. The Swordfish King waved its hand. No, no, no. This is not begging for mercy. This is peaceful coexistence. There's no need for such a meaningless battle. If this continues, I might be heavily injured. But the humans on this Raven Spirit Island are unlucky. More than half of them might die. Why must both sides suffer? There was a hint of threat in its tone. Even if it was heavily injured, it might drag the humans on the Raven Spirit Island down with it. Even if it didn't have the ability to threaten Xia Ping, it still had the strength to kill more than half of the humans on the Raven Spirit Island. Threatening me? When the Myriad Demon Mountain and the Shark Demon King threatened me, I never bowed my head. Do you think a puny Swordfish King like you can threaten me, Xia Ping? Xia Ping's eyes flashed with a cold light. You want me to spare your life? What a joke. Those innocent humans who were slaughtered, the old, the weak, the women, and the children who died in vain in the endless sea. Did you spare them? They begged, kneeled on the ground, begged for mercy, and cried. Did you have the slightest bit of compassion? Let me tell you the truth. Today, not only will you die, but all the sea demons who dare to invade the Raven Spirit Island will die. No one can escape. Chapter 1043. You ungrateful thing. You forced me to do this. Hearing these cold and murderous words, the Swordfish King knew that Xia Ping's will to kill it was as strong as steel. No matter what, he would not let it go. Continuing to talk was a waste of time. Now, the only way to escape was to kill this human. Blood Demon Sword. Sacrifice half of this king's flesh and blood energy to grant this king invincible power to kill this human bastard. The Swordfish King roared with a crazed expression. Boom! As soon as it finished speaking, the Swordfish King immediately activated all the demon power in its body. A large amount of blood flowed out of its body and was devoured by the Blood Demon Sword. Suddenly, it emitted waves of blood-red light. Vaguely, there seemed to be a demon god roaring in the void. It was deafening and shocking. Walala! Immediately, the injuries on the Swordfish King's body were healed. All the wounds were healed, and its body was surrounded by terrifying black, demonic chi that covered dozens of kilometers. This black, demonic chi condensed into a substance and seemed to have the characteristics of poison and corrosion. All the sea creatures that came into contact with it were poisoned to death, and their bodies were corroded into a pile of white bones. At the same time, this black demonic chi seemed to condense into a black armor that covered its entire body. Even its head was covered, leaving only a pair of eyes exposed. But its eyes were not ordinary either. They were as demonic as blood. It seemed to have lost all its rationality, leaving only madness, killing, evil, and other emotions. It was like a mindless, murderous monster. Whoosh! In an instant, the Swordfish King attacked and slashed towards Xia Ping. Its speed was twice as fast as before. What? Xia Ping immediately circulated dark north body protecting technique and blocked the sword all of a sudden. But the power of this sword was extremely terrifying, causing the energy cover on his body to tremble constantly, as if it was about to be cut by the sharp sword chi. Bang, bang, bang. Moreover, the Swordfish King's attack did not intend to stop. It continuously blasted out hundreds of violent blood-red sword chi. Every attack was earth-shattering. Suddenly, Xia Ping was beaten back. He felt his body was being shaken violently. Even the protective aura of the Dark North protection art was showing signs of collapsing. What is this? Xia Ping's eyes flashed. He could feel that the Swordfish King was completely different from before. Not only had its wounds healed, but its aura had also doubled. It was as if the entire ocean was trembling. Xia Ping, be careful. This Blood Demon Sword is not an ordinary brilliant tool, but a spirit tool, and even a devil spirit tool. Corin's voice transmitted over, reminding Xia Ping. Demonic spiritual weapon. Xia Ping blinked his eyes. He didn't know what it meant. He knew that spiritual artifacts were more powerful than artifacts, but he didn't know what a demonic spirit artifact was. An ordinary spiritual artifact's artifact spirit is one with its master and is controlled by its master. However, a demonic spiritual artifact is different. It possesses an extraordinary demonic nature and will not be easily controlled by its master. Corinne said in a deep voice, if the strength is insufficient, even the demon spirit equipment will take advantage of this opportunity to directly control the master, and is full of demonic nature. In the universe, the demon spirit equipment is prohibited by the righteous sections. Once it is used, it will be classified as a demonic sect and will be chased and killed by the righteous sections. However, it is undeniable that the power of each demon spirit equipment is more terrifying than ordinary spiritual artifacts. It is also easier to enhance strength. So many practitioners take the risk out of desperation. Corinne said that the demon spirit equipment was an extremely dangerous artifact. It was a double-edged sword. If you don't know how to use it, it will definitely hurt yourself. Hearing this, Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. In other words, now this Swordfish King has completely lost its mind and is completely controlled by the demon spirit equipment. That's right. Corinne nodded his head. In this way, it only has the desire to kill and will not care about the injuries on its body. It is more than twice as terrifying as an ordinary Swordfish King. We must be careful. Is there no way to deal with it? Xiaoping asked. Corinne stroked his beard and said, "Of course there is a way. After all, it is controlled by the artifact spirit of the demon spirit equipment, so its weakness is the soul. If you master a method to attack the soul, then you can naturally deal with it easily." That is easy. Xiaoping nodded his head. He had two martial arts that could attack the soul. One was Heavenly Dragon Sound, and the other was Heavenly Epic. Both were extremely tyrannical sound, wave martial arts that could touch the soul. In an instant, he stood on the spot and used Heavenly Dragon's Sound. Wu, gu, ba, ma, e, 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 e. Immediately, the 8 heavenly dragons' sound vibrated between heaven and earth. Vaguely, there seemed to be a heavenly dragon appearing in the sky, letting out a shocking roar that contained the might of a dragon. All living creatures within a radius of tens of kilometers felt a pressure on their souls when they heard this sound. It was an existence that ordinary creatures could not compare to. It was an even more supreme being. Some sea demons with weak souls couldn't withstand this dragon's might. They immediately foamed at the mouth and fainted in the sea. Even humans were the same. All humans below the martial master level were knocked unconscious on the ground. Even grandmasters felt a great pressure. It was as if a mountain had descended on their shoulders, forcing them to crawl down. Everyone else felt the same, but for the Swordfish King who was at the center of the attack, it felt a terrifying wave instantly appearing in the depths of its mind. Ah! The Swordfish King immediately let out a shrill scream. Its soul felt as if it was being destroyed by thousands of vibrations. It felt as if its soul was being torn apart by the sound wave. At the same time, the blood demon sword let out a shrill cry, like an injured beast roaring. It really has a weapon spirit. Go to hell. Seeing that the Swordfish King had a moment of weakness, Xiaoping's eyes flashed coldly. He would not miss this opportunity. His body flickered, and he immediately approached the Swordfish King and threw a punch. Dong! The punch landed on the Swordfish King's body. The terrifying spiral force seeped into its internal organs. At the same time, the flames of the essence of the sun began to burn its body. Boom! A few seconds later, the demonic chi in the surroundings was completely burned as if it had been purified. The Swordfish King's body was also shattered by the fist force. It fell into pieces and fell into the sea, just like that. The blood demon sword also seemed to be heavily damaged. The demonic chi in the surroundings was withdrawn and absorbed into the sword. The blood-red light on its body also disappeared. Chapter 1044. Holy **T. The Swordfish King is dead. Many human masters saw the Swordfish King's tragic death. Its entire body was shattered into pieces. No matter how strong the Swordfish King's vitality was, it was impossible for it to survive. The other humans also saw this scene through the drone's recording. Oh my god, Xiaoping is really too strong. As expected of the youngest king in history, his strength is too terrifying. Even a veteran king, like the Swordfish King, was easily killed. How strong is he? He has such strength at such a young age. He will definitely become an invincible king in the future. You don't have to say it. Everyone knows it. Countless humans saw the scene where Xiaoping killed the Swordfish King with his own hands. There was nothing more convincing than this. Even if Xiaoping said he had not advanced to the king level, no one would believe him. Oh my god, the elders of the family want me to compete with Xiaoping. How can I compete with him? Zhang Dong also saw this scene, and his face turned pale. He knew himself well. Although he was born in a king family, was a direct descendant, and had the bloodline of a king, he was not confident in advancing to the king level. Not to mention comparing him with the youngest king in history. He was not even comparable to the king's toes. He could only pray in his heart, hoping that Xiaoping did not take what happened in the hotel to heart. Otherwise, he would definitely suffer. There was no need for him to do anything else. As long as Xiaoping mentioned it to the ancestors of his family, he would probably be banished to the cold palace. It was not impossible for him to lose his identity as a direct descendant. When did this bad guy grow to such an extent? Chu Rong's beautiful eyes flickered with a strange light. There was probably no one present who was more emotional than she was. Back on planet Yanhuang, although Xiaoping had also begun to shine, he was just an ordinary student. He was not as radiant as he was now, almost unapproachable like a god. For a moment, she had mixed feelings, and she did not know what to think. The humans were excited and emotional, but the sea demons were panicking, terrified, and afraid. It's over. The king is dead. He was killed by that human. Impossible. How powerful is the king? How could he be killed by a human? Their bodies have been broken into pieces and turned into dead fish. Don't lie to yourself here. Hurry up and run. If we continue to stay here, we will definitely be killed by this savage human. Yes, let's go. None of the sea demons had any intention of avenging the Swordfish King's death. After all, the human had killed the Swordfish King. Even if they were to attack together, they would be nothing more than cannon fodder. Not to mention the fact that there were humans eyeing them covetously nearby. Under such circumstances, they weren't avenging the Swordfish King. Instead, they were serving themselves as seafood for the humans. Immediately, they scattered like monkeys when a tree falls, and each and every one of them fled for their lives. Kill! Xiaoping casually picked up the blood demon sword and placed it in his spatial ring. He also saw the actions of the sea demons. However, how could he let these sea monsters escape? Although these sea monsters posed no threat to him, their hands were stained with the blood of humans. They were his mortal enemies. Letting these sea monsters escape was like letting a tiger return to the mountain. They could come out at any time to do evil, become pirates, and harm humans. Therefore, it was better to kill them here and be done with it. However, he didn't care about the ordinary sea monsters. Instead, he focused on the master-level sea monsters. For the human fleet, the master-level sea monsters were the biggest threat. If all the master-level sea monsters were killed, the remaining sea monsters would just be cannon fodder. They were nothing to be afraid of. Suddenly, countless master-level sea monsters were killed. They were no match for Xiaoping, who had the strength of a king level. They were all killed in one move. Look, Lord Xia is making his move. He is killing the master-level sea monsters. Stupid. What are you looking at? This is a great opportunity. Yes, cooperate with Lord Xia and kill all the sea monsters. Tonight, we will have a seafood feast. Let's go together and kill these sea demons that dare to cause trouble. Kill them until not a single one is left. Yes, kill one to warn the others. Let's see if these sea monsters dare to invade our Raven Spirit Island again. Seeing that Xiaoping was killing the master-level sea monsters, some human generals knew that this was a great opportunity. They quickly issued orders to send out battleships to destroy this group of shrimp soldiers and crab generals. Some of the human grandmasters on the islands also quickly joined in the battle to exterminate the sea demons. Not to mention that it was the responsibility of the masters to protect the Raven Spirit Island. The most important thing was that the materials of these sea monsters were precious. It was rare to have such an opportunity to beat the drowning dogs and make a fortune. No master would miss it. This battle lasted for a full 6 hours, and the hundreds of thousands of sea demons were almost completely annihilated. Even if some sea monsters were lucky enough to escape, it was not a big deal. Suddenly, the humans on the Raven Spirit Island were extremely excited. They won this battle. Not only did they suffer few casualties, but they also killed hundreds of thousands of sea monsters. Even the famous Swordfish King was killed. No matter which era it was a big victory that was enough to shock the Cloud Realm. Most importantly, that they didn't have to die. They all felt lucky to have survived. This is a little troublesome. However, at this moment, Xiaoping frowned because he had the power to devour souls. Every time he killed an enemy, he could devour a trace of the enemy's soul power and use it to strengthen his mind power. He had killed 5 monarchs in the mystic realm, and now he had killed the Swordfish King, as well as many sea monster grandmasters. Even if he could devour a small part of the soul power of these dead cultivators, it was still a shocking number when added together. Originally, Xia Ping's mind power had reached the edge of the capacity of his brain. It was almost at its limit. He was one step away from opening the Purple Palace, so he couldn't control it. Now that he had devoured so much soul power, his mind power had greatly increased. It could be said that Xia Ping had reached the edge of being unable to suppress it and was about to break through to the King realm. Previously, Xia Ping wanted to break through after returning to the giant island, but it was obviously impossible now. He had to immediately find a place to cultivate in seclusion and break through to the King realm in peace. I'll say goodbye to Chu Rong for now and go to the bottom of the sea to cultivate in seclusion for a while. Xia Ping made a prompt decision. He decided to go deep into the underwater world and find a hidden cave to temporarily cultivate in. After all, the endless sea was so huge. It would be very safe to find a place to hide and not be discovered. When he thought of this, he immediately contacted Chu Rong and told her that he had comprehended something and needed to cultivate in seclusion for a few days. After that, he would go to the giant island with her and ask her to stay on the Raven Spirit Island for a few days. Chapter 1045. At the seabed of the endless sea, there was a secret undersea cave. At this moment, this cave was sealed by a huge rock. Many fishes were swimming around with a satisfied look. No one knew that a human was hiding inside the cave, cultivating in seclusion. Bang! After Xia Pingshuan found the cave, he immediately sat cross-legged and took out the 5 elements spirit fruits. He ate all of them and ran the pure yang immortal technique to quickly refine them. These 5 elements spirit fruits melted in his mouth and were refined by the flame of the pure yang immortal technique. The sea of qi in his dantian was like a furnace, quickly transforming the medicinal efficacy into majestic energy. Immediately, he felt that his body was filled with the energy of the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, forming a balance. This energy of the 5 elements wandered in his body and washed it. Bang, bang, bang. In an instant, the remaining acupoints in Xia Pingshuan's body were all broken by this huge energy. It was like a hot knife through butter, and nothing could resist it. He was promoted to the peak of the 9th heaven of Supreme Power Realm, only 1 step away from the King Realm. This was the pinnacle of countless people's dreams in the Cloud Realm. The 108 acupoints in his body were filled with majestic Gang Qi, like 108 vortexes slowly rotating and inexplicably resonating with his whole body. Vaguely, these Gang Qi vibrated, and a vision appeared behind him. A golden crow of hell rose up and screamed to the sky. The whole cave entrance was filled with terrible flames, as if it could burn everything. The whole undersea mountain seemed to be burned by the flames, and the surrounding dozens of miles were wrapped in flames. The surrounding fish felt such heat and quickly fled, not daring to approach. However, for the vast boundless sea, dozens of miles of sea area was just a small dot, not worth mentioning, so it did not cause too much movement. Similar natural phenomena occurred everywhere in the deep sea of the boundless sea, so it was not surprising. Comfortable, Xia Pingshuan closed his eyes and felt the energy of the 5 elements spirit fruit flowing gently in his body. Now he knew why the 5 elements spirit fruit enjoyed such a reputation in the universe, and why the ancient demon clan risked universal condemnation to plunder the creatures of the 5 clans and specially cultivated the 5 elements spirit fruit for them. The 5 elements spirit fruit had the reputation of being a foundation-building fruit. It could wash away the impurities in one's body, improve one's aptitude, and allow one's body to achieve a balance of the 5 elements, forging the foundation of a spotless body. He felt the impurities in his body being expelled bit by bit. The minor injuries that had appeared in his body because of the battle and cultivation were quickly repaired by the 5 elements spirit fruit, allowing his body to reach an unprecedented state. This was extremely beneficial to him when he broke through into the king realm. At this moment, not only had his physical fitness improved tremendously, but his mental strength had also undergone tremendous changes. In the depths of his brain, countless mist-shaped mental energy almost filled his entire brain, reaching its limit. Therefore, the mist-like spiritual power began to slowly liquefy, turning into droplets of liquid spiritual power. This power was more than 10 times stronger than the mist-like spiritual power from before. He broke through. After a long time, Xiaoping felt that his essence, qi, and spirit had reached the peak of the supreme power ninth realm, and there was no way to continue to improve. He knew that his chance to break through had come. Immediately, his spiritual power condensed into a spear. The spear, condensed by the liquid spiritual power, was many times more terrifying than before, as if it had really materialized into a real spear. Different from the mist-like spiritual spear before, this was a spiritual attack with super destructive power. The next second, Xiaoping moved his mind, and the spear fiercely rushed toward the purple door. Dong! Suddenly, the originally strong purple door was easily penetrated by the spear. The whole purple door was also bombarded into pieces and scattered everywhere. Xiaoping's consciousness went into the purple door and found that there was a space of nothingness in the depths of the purple door. This space of nothingness was filled with endless purple mist. This was a strange space between nothingness and reality. This was the Purple Mansion. However, the Purple Mansion opened by ordinary kings was only about 1 kilometer, but Xiaoping found that the Purple Mansion he had opened was shockingly large. It was 100 kilometers wide. It should be known that the king realm relied on magic power. The larger the Purple Mansion, the more amazing the magic power it could contain. Although the Purple Mansion could continue to be opened and the scope of the Purple Mansion could be expanded, it was already so terrifying at the initial stage. If it continued to be opened in the future, it was unknown how amazing it would be. If the state of Xiaoping's Purple Mansion was known, it would scare many people to death. Clatter. At this time, Xiaoping ran the pure yang immortal technique. A large amount of spiritual power in the form of liquid and the endless gang qi in his body poured into the depths of the door and came to this Purple Mansion world. Soon, in this space of nothingness filled with purple, the spiritual power and gang qi quickly merged into one under the effect of a strange force, and immediately began to condense the first drop of magic power. Is this the magic power? Xiaoping felt this wonderful power, which was completely different from genuine qi, genuine essence, gang qi, and other forces. This power was more wonderful and seemed to be omnipotent. At this moment, his blood was trembling, as if it had resonated with heaven and earth. With his body as the center, it seemed to form a huge whirlpool. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth within a radius of hundreds of kilometers crazily rushed into his body, filling his body with power. It seemed as if every cell in his body was breathing. Not long after, a large amount of magic power condensed. Above the nothingness, a huge purple cloud floated over, and immediately there was a heavy downpour. Originally, there was only a small pool in the space of nothingness, but soon it became a small lake. As the rain continued to pour, the magic power continued to condense, and the small lake also began to expand crazily. In the end, it actually formed a small ocean with a diameter of hundreds of kilometers, and it even seemed to continue to expand. Perhaps it would become a huge ocean world. Suddenly, Xiaoping's body shook. The moment this Purple Mansion world was formed, there was a strange phenomenon in his Purple Mansion. A golden and black sun rose from the surface of the sea, like a golden crow soaring from hell. Suddenly, the whole Purple Mansion was filled with hot flames. In the sky, there were also countless stars. The stars of the outer realm flashed with dazzling light, and a full moon hung in the sky, its power no less than that of the sun. A Kuanpung leaped out of the depths of the sea, wagging its tail and swimming happily. Sometimes it hid in the void, and sometimes it appeared. It was free and unfettered. A heavenly dragon flew high in the sky, roaring at the sky and emitting the might of a dragon. A Buddha sat in the air, meditating and chanting scriptures. An angel flapped its holy wings and descended with white feathers, singing the Bible. The power of the four seasons seemed to be reincarnating. Indistinctly, the power of hell appeared in the depths of the sea. This phenomenon did not only appear in the depths of the Purple Mansion, but the waves of power spread outside of Xia Ping's body. Damn, this is the Purple Mansion phenomenon. Chapter 1046. Oh my god, what kind of monster is this kid? Corinne was dumbfounded. The so-called Purple Mansion phenomenon was only born when one's martial arts foundation was extremely deep, and when one advanced to the Purple Mansion realm, it resonated with heaven and earth. In the universe, the Purple Mansion phenomenon was also known as the Sage phenomenon. It was said that some descendants of monstrous races were born in the Purple Mansion realm, and then immortals would appear, playing conch shells, beating gongs and drums, chanting sutras, angels singing praises, the sun and moon rising in the sky, ancient ancestors offering sacrifices, and other phenomena would appear. This was the aptitude of a sage. They would become the saint of the entire race and obtain endless resources. But when ordinary humans advanced to the Purple Mansion realm, there was no fart phenomenon. Opening up the Purple Mansion was already a great blessing, and it was impossible for a Purple Mansion phenomenon to appear. Even when the sect master of the astral sect advanced to the Purple Mansion realm, there was no Purple Mansion phenomenon. Corinne once thought that this was a legend, or that would only appear in those cosmic races that were envied by heaven and earth. It was impossible for humans to have this kind of situation. But even if he was beaten to death, he never thought that he would see this kind of thing from Xia Ping. It really gave him a huge shock. This is more than just picking up a treasure. It is simply picking up a future sage. Corinne suddenly felt that his tens of thousands of years of bad luck had finally been washed clean at this moment. If this kid didn't die in the future, he would certainly become a tyrannical sage. Maybe he would even be many times more tyrannical than his old master. But this kind of Purple Mansion phenomenon didn't end. It continued to spread out, and finally, this phenomenon appeared in the sea area of thousands of kilometers, as if a mirage had appeared. In this region of the sea, all the monster kings and human kings were startled, and they were instantly shocked. What's going on? Why is there such a phenomenon? I feel a powerful, chaotic, and ancient aura from this phenomenon. It seems to contain supreme mysteries. Could it be that some tyrannical treasure is about to be born? It's very likely. Immediately search this sea area to see what kind of treasure is about to be born. Immediately take action. Don't let others beat us to it. Many of the kings were extremely shocked when they saw these abnormal signs. They thought that some peerless treasure had appeared, which was why such shocking ripples and abnormal signs had appeared. All of them moved out, wanting to search for the treasure. However, it was obvious that after searching for a long time, they had returned empty-handed. After all, the sea area of tens of thousands of kilometers was too vast. Moreover, it was in the endless sea. Wanting to find treasures in such a vast sea area was like looking for a needle in a haystack. However, some kings still didn't give up and wanted to continue searching, hoping to find some treasures. Xia Ping, on the other hand, didn't know about this. He was still immersed in comprehending the advancement to the Purple Mansion realm, constantly comprehending the power of the Purple Mansion realm and refining and absorbing the harvest this time. While Xia Ping was cultivating in seclusion and consolidating his cultivation, the entire Cloud Realm was in an uproar. The news of the Swordfish King's death and Xia Ping's advancement to the King Realm spread like wildfire to every corner of the Sky Realm. This was the speed at which news spread in the Internet age. There was no way to hide it. First of all, the human world was in an uproar. It spread to the Internet and was pushed out by countless news outlets. Many people saw this news. Is this a joke? Wasn't Xia Ping just a grandmaster? He actually advanced to the King Realm in just a short period of time. Is this fake news? It's absolutely fake news. How can you boast so well? Is it so easy to advance into the King Realm? Countless old grandmasters have been stuck at the peak of the grandmaster realm for hundreds of years without any progress. Sigh. Rumors these days are always spreading like wildfire. Is it not illegal to spread rumors now? I suggest that we immediately capture the person who spread the rumor. I think it might be that bastard Xia Ping who wants to make a big deal out of himself, and specially found people to write articles to flatter him. It makes sense. According to that bastard's character, it's not impossible for him to do such a thing. As soon as this news spread, many people immediately questioned the authenticity of this matter, especially the disciples of the great clans who had enmity with Xiaoping. All of them didn't believe it and felt that it was a complete rumor. Even if that kid's speed of cultivation was like an airplane, it was impossible for him to advance to the king realm so quickly. It's true. The master of Raven Spirit Island can testify to this. There's even a video recorded by the drone that proves that he advanced to the king realm and killed the Swordfish King. Someone immediately uploaded the video of the battle between Xiaoping and the Swordfish King to prove that it was true. Many people immediately clicked on the video and watched it, and the number of views skyrocketed. In just an hour, it had already received a few tens of billions of views. It was obvious how many people had watched this video. In an instant, those who doubted Xiaoping immediately shut their mouths after they finished watching the video. If Xiaoping directly said that he had advanced to the king realm, then countless people would naturally doubt it. But now, he had personally killed the Swordfish King, and this was irrefutable evidence. Who could doubt that Xiaoping hadn't advanced to the king realm yet? If he wasn't a king realm expert, then how could he have killed the Swordfish King? Such an accomplishment could shatter all doubts. My God, he's too powerful. That's the Swordfish King, a king of the ocean that has roamed freely for hundreds of years. It has killed countless humans, but many king realm experts were unable to do anything to it. Now, it was actually killed. There's no doubt that Xiaoping is already a king realm expert. Xiaoping is only 19 years old now, but he's already so powerful. He's not far from the invincible king realm. Previously, it was said that he had some hope of advancing to the invincible king realm. Many people thought that it would only happen in a few decades or even 100 years. But it's happening now. It's too exaggerated. Even if he takes pills, he can't advance so fast. He's the youngest king realm expert in history. The humans of the cloud realm were boiling with excitement. Even though Xiaoping had many misdeeds, such as cheating on more than a dozen girls, flirting everywhere, and doing many other despicable things, but for a king realm expert, it was just a trivial matter. The strength of a king realm expert was enough to shatter all dissatisfaction. This was a supreme status. It had already broken away from the speed of the Federation's laws and had the power to make laws. If Xiaoping was willing, he could immediately choose a piece of land in the cloud realm to guard and make himself a king. On this piece of land, he could do anything. He could make laws and make rules. It wouldn't be a problem even if he married thousands of women. This was the privilege of a king realm expert. Even the Federation government couldn't interfere. Chapter 1047. At this moment, in the headquarters of the federal government, countless kings, including the invincible kings, knew about this. This was especially true for Lu Wuming, Sun Yongdao, and the other three kings. They were extremely interested in Xiaoping. As expected of a member of the giant company. I thought he would need at least 10 years to reach the king realm. It would be good if he could catch up to Qiu Xue and Su Mei. I didn't expect him to break through now. He even killed the Swordfish King and made a name for himself. Young people nowadays are really amazing. The leader of the giant company, Gu Shalai, was very happy. Because Xiaoping was a member of the giant company, he treated Xiaoping as one of his own. He really is a good young man. Lu Wuming nodded. This is a good thing for humans. The more talented young people appear, the safer we will be in the cloud realm. It will be enough for us to occupy a place. Although Xiaoping wasn't a member of the Life Company, he was still a human. He was very satisfied with this talented junior. He was another pillar of the human race. Looks like this young man obtained great benefits in that secret realm. Otherwise, he wouldn't have improved so quickly and reached the king realm in one go. Sun Yongdao rubbed his chin. But according to Lu Qi and the others, that secret realm has been destroyed. Everything inside has been destroyed. We can't go in anymore. Fortunately, Lu Qi and the others also obtain benefits. They have a chance to reach the king realm. This way, we will have 4 more kings. Our strength will increase greatly. When Lu Qi and the others returned to the family's base, they were immediately discovered. They asked about what had happened in the secret realm. Of course, Lu Qi and the others didn't tell them everything. They only said some irrelevant things and quickly went back to cultivate in seclusion. They planned to break through to the king realm. Since this kid has reached the king realm, he has the right to know some of our secrets. Gu Shilai looked at the two. Do you have any objections? No objections. With this young man's talent and strength, it's natural that he knows these secrets. But I heard that he gained some enlightenment from the battle with the Swordfish King. He's already cultivating in seclusion. I don't know when he'll come out. Lu Wuming smiled. He had no objections. Another enlightenment? He really is a monster. He's improving very quickly. Sun Yang Dao was speechless. This kid couldn't be thinking of breaking through to the fulfillment realm, right? That was a little scary. Forget it then. We'll talk to him after he comes out of seclusion. Gu Shilai nodded. But the alien spaceship in the depths of the universe, what's the situation now? Hearing this, Lu Wuming's expression became serious. We're monitoring that spaceship at all times. It's heading over quickly and will arrive in about 2 weeks. But that's not necessarily the case. If they suddenly accelerate, they can shorten the time of arrival. Sun Yangdao's eyes sparkled with a cold light. Don't worry. This time, we've prepared well. We've also notified the myriad monster mountain and the sea tribes of the endless sea. If anything unexpected happens, we'll work together to eliminate external enemies. If the other party is an enemy, they will definitely suffer. He was brimming with killing intent. The 3 of them continued to discuss important matters, constantly deploying and making all sorts of preparations. At this moment, Yanhuang University, Feng Hetong, and the other members of the Flat Sky Gate also received the news that Xia Ping had become a king. They all became excited, and the Flat Sky Gate, the organization that Xia Ping had established, also grew in power. It wasn't just limited to Yanhuang University. It started to spread to other universities and set up branches of the Flat Sky Gate. Its power increased by more than 10 times. Countless students joined out of admiration. They wanted to take this opportunity to meet Xia Ping and learn some of the secrets of the martial Tao. Remember, during a gathering of new members, Feng Hatong said proudly, Xia Ping is the boss of our Pingtian Gate, and he has already advanced to the king realm. Isn't it certain that he will become an invincible king in the future? If you follow us now, you'll definitely have a good life in the future. Boss doesn't have high requirements for us. It's fine as long as we don't embarrass him. Understand? He used the tiger's might and arrogantly scolded the new students. Yes, Big Brother Feng. A group of noobs shouted with longing on their faces. If they followed an invincible king in the future, wouldn't they be able to have anything they wanted? Seeing this scene, some of the students of Yanhuang University who had a grudge against Xia Ping gritted their teeth. This malignant sect of Yanhuang University was growing stronger again. However, they were powerless against Xia Ping, who was at the king level. The current Xia Ping was not someone they could fight against. Even if they brought out their ancestors, they wouldn't be able to do much. The gap between the two sides had widened to an unimaginable extent. On the myriad demon mountain, many demon kings also received this news. They fell silent and didn't speak for a long time. Damn it! How did this son of a bitch advance so quickly? He advanced to the king level in the blink of an eye and even killed the Swordfish King. If this continues, how will we take revenge? Don't tell me we have no choice but to eat this damn toad? The Tiger Demon King cursed. He was very unconvinced. He was able to advance so quickly because of the secret realm of our myriad demon mountain. If it weren't for these shameless humans who sneaked into our secret realm and stole the opportunities of our younger generation, this kid wouldn't have been able to advance to the king level so quickly no matter how monstrous he is. The Tiger Demon King was so angry that he wanted to beat up Xia Ping and the humans. When Tu Linglong, Qing Yuan, and the other geniuses of the demon race returned and heard the series of events that happened in the secret realm, many demon kings were so angry that they almost had a heart attack. They never expected that the secret realm of their myriad demon mountain would be invaded by humans. Even the opportunities that originally belonged to the demon race had been snatched away by these humans. Many outstanding geniuses of the demon race had died inside and would never be able to come out. Even the secret realm had been destroyed, and the myriad demon mountain could no longer obtain these opportunities. This was a heavy loss, and it was equivalent to cutting off an important inheritance for them. However, it had already happened, and that kid had even advanced to the king level because of this. No matter how angry they were, they couldn't do anything to this shameless human. But even so, they were still very unconvinced and extremely unwilling to accept it. Fortunately, Qing Yuan and Tu Linglong also obtained the 5-element spirit fruit. When they come out of seclusion, they will be demon kings. This can be considered a blessing in disguise. Otherwise, we would have suffered a double loss this time. The rabbit demon king rejoiced. Chapter 1048. What should we do next? Are we still going to chase after that human Xiaoping? At that moment, the Raven King raised the key question. It looked at the surrounding demon kings. How are we supposed to chase after him? Now that even the Swordfish King was killed by him, only an invincible king can kill him. A beast king said helplessly, "The problem is that once an invincible king takes action, it will be a battle to the death. Even if an invincible king were to make a move, would he really be able to kill that human?" It was very doubtful about that. Back then, when Xiaoping had only just become a grandmaster, he had already dared to offend a king. At that time, the gap between a human and a king was even greater, and he had to face the pursuit of the Wanyao Mountain. However, he still didn't die. Now, the strength of both sides had shrunk by who knows how many times. Would they be able to kill that monstrous human? Most importantly, that human remained in the human world. Even if an invincible king wanted to take action, they wouldn't be able to unless an invincible king entered the human world. However, it was estimated that the humans were waiting for the invincible demon kings to make their moves. They wanted to ambush them and kill one of them. This could be considered a huge victory. However, this was something that the Wanyao Mountain couldn't bear. Damn it, I can't accept this. Could it be that we can only watch this human bastard jump around here, and we can't do anything to him? The giant king gritted his teeth, feeling extremely indignant. When had something like this ever happened in the Wanyao Mountain? Being slapped in the face like this, yet from beginning to end, there was nothing he could do. He could only watch this enemy of his live more and more freely. Although I am unwilling to admit it, I have no choice but to admit it. We are already incapable of dealing with this human. If he continues to improve, it will be us who have to worry about how this human will hunt down us Yao Kings. The rabbit demon monarch said in a deep voice. Hearing this, many demon kings were shocked. They suddenly thought of this. Previously, they were still discussing how to kill Xiaoping of the human race. But after a while, this human's martial arts cultivation would advance by leaps and bounds, and he would ascend to the fulfillment realm or even the divine realm. At that time, it would probably be Xiaoping who killed them, and the situation would be completely reversed. Never in their wildest dreams would they have imagined that there would be a day when they would be so afraid of a mere human. He was simply a terrifying existence that was like a natural enemy to them. Elsewhere, in the depths of the endless sea, in the depths of the Shark Demon Monarch's palace. At that moment, Shark Demon Monarch summoned his friends and invited dozens of Sea Demon Monarchs for a gathering. He planned on holding a banquet to celebrate and wash away the bad luck on him. Just when they were full and the atmosphere was at its peak, a Sea Demon guard rushed in with a panicked expression. "Your Majesty, this is bad. This is bad," the Sea Yao guard shouted. Upon hearing these words, the Shark Demon King immediately quivered and reflexively said, "What's wrong? Don't tell me that bastard human, Xiaoping, wants to rob my palace again. Where is that human now? This king will immediately kill him." He gritted his teeth as his eyes spewed fire. He believed that the slut, Xiaoping, wanted to ransack his palace and steal all the wealth he had painstakingly accumulated. No, it's not that Xiaoping is here, but that the Swordfish King is dead. The Sea Demon Guard was so frightened that his body trembled when he saw his king's anger. He hurriedly told him the news. The Swordfish King is dead? How'd he die? All the demon monarchs present were stunned. They had heard of the Swordfish King's reputation. Although he was only a Purple Mansion realm monarch, he was still a demon monarch that had been in the limelight in recent years. He had a valiant battle record, and no monarchs of the same rank were a match for him. But such a demon monarch had actually died. This was considered a major event even in the Endless Sea. He was killed by Xiaoping of the human race. The Sea Demon Guard said, "What? I dare you to say it again." The moment this was said, the entire palace was shocked. Not only was the Shark Demon Monarch shocked, but the Sea Demon Monarchs present were also dumbfounded. They seemed to not dare to believe their ears. According to our intelligence in the human race, that human, Xiaoping, seems to have recently advanced to the King realm. His strength has greatly increased, and he personally killed the Swordfish King. His entire body exploded, and even the subordinates by the Swordfish King's side were slaughtered. Not a single one of them was left alive. It was very miserable. The Sea Demon Guard hurriedly revealed his intelligence. Bullsh asterisk T. The Shark Demon Monarch yelled. That bitch was at most at the 5th heaven of the Grandmaster realm. Who knows how far he was from the King realm? Even if he advanced to the 7th heaven of the Grandmaster realm in such a short time, it would be considered a rapid improvement. You're telling me that he has advanced to the King realm and even killed the Swordfish King? If it wasn't for the fact that this guard was its trusted aide, it would have dismembered this Sea Demon Guard for spreading rumors and spouting nonsense. Let's see if he still dared to spout nonsense. No, it's true. It is said that the scene of the battle was recorded by the human race's drones. This video has already spread all over the sky. If you don't believe it, you can watch it. The Sea Demon Guard also knew that the Shark Demon Monarch and the other demon monarchs didn't believe it. In fact, when he heard the news before, he also thought it was some April Fool's joke. But after watching this video, he had to believe it even if he didn't believe it. After he finished speaking, he took out the human technology and immediately projected the video of the battle between Xiaoping and the Swordfish King for all the demon monarchs to watch. After the video finished playing, all the demon monarchs present were silent. This was irrefutable proof that even the Swordfish King was killed. Even if he wasn't at the King realm, he still had the combat strength of a King realm. Brother Shark Demon. All the demon monarchs looked at the Shark Demon Monarch with pity. During the banquet, the Shark Demon Monarch was still bragging, saying that he would kill the human Xiaoping sooner or later to take revenge. Before he could finish his sentence, the Swordfish King was slaughtered by Xiaoping, who had already progressed to the Purple Mansion realm. Although the Shark Demon Monarch was a Fulfillment Realm Demon Monarch, which was one level higher than the Purple Mansion realm, he shouldn't be worried about Xiaoping. The problem was that this human was only 19 years old, and he was already so terrifying now. What about the future? Perhaps after a period of time, this human would advance to the Fulfillment Realm or even the Divine Power Realm. By then, it would be the Shark Demon Monarch's turn to worry about being hunted down by Xiaoping. There was no room for revenge now. It was better to think about how to escape. Brother Shark Demon, actually, if you think about it carefully, it's better to squash enmity than keep it alive. Why don't you find a chance to make peace with that human? Why do you have to continue making trouble? This is very disadvantageous for everyone. Some of the demon monarchs' eyes flickered as they voiced their opinions. Make peace, my ass. The Shark Demon Monarch wanted to curse out loud. All his assets were taken by this slut. Hundreds of years of accumulation were destroyed in a day. It was fine if he didn't take revenge now, but he still had to make peace with this bastard human. He even had to humble himself. How could there be such a thing in this world? But when he thought about it carefully, according to this human's improvement speed, he might soon advance to the invincible monarch realm. By that time, if Xiaoping still hated him, then no matter how vast the Endless Sea was, it would be hard for him to find a place to stay. Chapter 1049. At this moment, in a cosmic void, not far from the Cloud Realm, a huge cosmic battleship was sailing. A red skull was engraved on the surface of the battleship. The skull was wrapped in a red scarf and emitted an endless blood-red, evil chi. If some creatures in the universe saw this pattern, they would feel a chill from the bottom of their hearts. They would run as far as they could. This was because this represented the famous interstellar bandits in the universe, the Red Scarf Bandits. Wherever they went, it represented slaughter, plunder, and destruction. They were even more terrifying than locusts. Countless creatures wanted to exterminate this group of Red Scarf Bandits and eradicate this cancer of the universe. Of course, this wasn't the full strength of the Red Scarf Bandits. It was just a small team and a space warship. At this time, in the command room of the space warship, a handsome young man with a red scarf on his forehead sat in the captain's seat. Next to him were 5 or 6 beautiful women serving him. Some served wine, some massaged his legs, some massaged his shoulders, and so on. It was very extravagant. He was the captain of this warship, U-Bo, with the strength of a divine realm. There were plenty of crew members in the command room, and all of them looked ferocious and fiendish. They were all scoundrels, gangsters, bandits, and murderers from all over the universe. They were numb to killing, and their strength was at least at the Purple Mansion realm. The only thing they had in common was the red scarf on their foreheads. This was the characteristic of the Red Scarf Bandits. How long until we reached the native land? U-Bo held a crystal goblet in his hand and gently swirled the red wine in it. Reporting to the captain, according to the normal speed, we still need about 2 weeks, but if we speed up, we can arrive in a few days. It was a middle-aged man who spoke. He wore black leather armor and only had one eye left. There were many scars on his face, showing his ferocious age. It was unknown how many life and death battles he had experienced to leave behind such scars. This middle-aged man was the vice captain of this warship. His name was Zheng Cheng, and he had the strength of a treasure refinement realm. According to his strength, he should have been the captain of this warship, but U-Bo was the son of an elder of the Red Scarf Bandits. He was the second generation of a bandit with monstrous power. Therefore, he could only be the vice captain. In fact, he was specially sent by the elder to protect his son, U-Bo. After all, in the universe, a treasure refinement realm was considered a small expert. There might not even be one on an ordinary planet, so they had enough strength to become a bodyguard. Then let's speed up and reach that native land as soon as possible. U-Bo waved his hand. I came out this time to have fun, but I didn't expect to find a native land. This is simply the heavens helping me. If we can capture the various creatures of this native continent and sell them to other planets, we'll definitely be able to earn a lot of money. We'll be rich this time. Previously, he had only come out to travel aimlessly, looking for an opportunity to plunder. However, he didn't expect that the drone sent by the warship would actually find a huge continent inhabited by living beings. This made U-Bo very excited. That was because native planets and native continents represented undeveloped lands, new continents, and endless wealth for him to ask for. Once he could occupy an ownerless planet, the wealth he could obtain would be simply astonishing. Even if the Red Scarf Bandits went out to plunder hundreds of times, they might not be able to obtain as many benefits as conquering a native planet. In fact, there were many explorers in the universe who had dreams of getting rich overnight. They searched everywhere for undiscovered native planets. This was a very prosperous profession. However, the universe was just too big. Even if humans exhausted their entire lives and spent tens of thousands of years, they might not be able to explore even a corner of the universe. Most of those explorers were buried in the dangerous universe, never to return. Only a small number of lucky people had such luck. Not only did they return alive, but they also found a native planet and became rich overnight. Now, it was obvious that U-Bo had such a great luck. Captain, we still have to be careful, Zheng Cheng said in a deep voice. Native represents the unknown. This is an unfamiliar land. No one knows what dangers there are inside. I think it's better for us to be cautious. Caution is the key to safety. His many years of experience told him that no matter where he went, he had to maintain a sense of awe. It's right to be careful, but it doesn't mean that we have to be timid. Yubo said, previously, we have sent unmanned drones to explore that land at full speed. We have already found out the strength of the natives of that land. The strongest among them is only at the transcendent realm. With our strength and this warship, annihilating this group of uncivilized natives is simply a piece of cake. When all the natives of the transcendent realm are destroyed, this unknown land will belong to me, Yubo. All the wealth of this land will also belong to this young master. His eyes revealed a trace of greed. He couldn't help but clench his fists. If he could take the wealth of this land for himself, then he would be able to obtain a huge amount of cultivation resources. He might be able to advance to a higher realm and obtain a higher status among the Red Scarf Bandits. He might even be comparable to his father. Of course, as this young master's subordinates, if I have something to eat, then there will definitely be something for you to drink. Yubo glanced at the crew present. He knew very well what it meant to command his subordinates. Thank you, Captain. Sure enough, following the captain was the right choice. We are willing to go through water and tread on fire for the captain. One by one, the crew members immediately went forward to flatter him. Every one of them was incomparably happy. Even if most of the wealth was eaten by the aftermath, the small portion that was left was enough for them to eat to their heart's content. Young master, should we first inform the Red Scarf Bandits' headquarters and make preparations? Zheng Cheng asked. No. Yubo rejected rudely and sneered. Inform them? What a joke. It's rare to have a chance to monopolize all the wealth of this native land. Isn't informing the other Red Scarf Bandits to let them pick the peaches? If they really find out, we won't even know who this native continent belongs to. He understood that once this news spread, there would definitely be too many monks and not enough gruel. Who knows how many jackals and wolves would come over. At that time, as a junior, he might not even be able to drink a mouthful of gruel. In this world, monopolizing everything was the way of the king. Yes, Captain. Zheng Cheng was only giving a suggestion. Since Yubo rejected it, he didn't say anything else. Immediately advance at full speed. Yubo gave the order. Reach that native land as soon as possible. Reporting to Captain, there seems to be scanning devices coming from that native land from time to time. It is very likely that they have already discovered our existence. A crew member said, there are scanning devices? This seems to have some level of technology. Ignore it. So what if they know? In the face of absolute power, the struggles of these natives are just a waste of effort. Once our battleship arrives, we will instantly destroy them. Chapter 1050. Due to the death of the Swordfish King and the birth of the youngest king in human history, the entire Cloud Realm was greatly shaken. The originally peaceful and balanced situation was now broken by Xiaoping. Countless king tiers in the Cloud Realm felt a trace of an approaching storm. They didn't know how much impact Xiaoping's advancement to the king tier would have on the world. However, Xiaoping didn't know that the outside world was so turbulent because of his matter. He was consolidating his gains from advancing to the Purple Mansion realm and immersing himself in the feeling of becoming a king tier. A few days later, he took a deep breath and opened his eyes, which immediately revealed a trace of light. His eyes were like a flame whirlpool, containing an incomparably mysterious energy. This is the Purple Mansion realm. The feeling is really wonderful. Xiaoping felt that every cell in his body was filled with majestic energy, and his vitality was unprecedentedly strong. He estimated that his current lifespan was more than 1,000 years, which was incomparable to before. He finally understood why the king tier was so different from the other realms. This was the change in the quality of life. His body was filled with traces of magic power, which made him feel as if he was omnipotent. Boom! Xiaoping's heart moved, and a huge amount of magic power gushed out from the depths of the Purple Mansion. It instantly enveloped his body, and then his entire body flew up into the air, breaking away from gravity. Suddenly, his body emitted a faint white light, as if there was a transparent gas enveloping his body. It expelled the air around him, forming an absolute aura. This was the symbol of the king tier, flying in the air, Moreover, this wasn't the flying effect caused by stepping on the air, but the power of magic power that counteracted gravity, allowing him to break away from the control of gravity and be able to fly. Why in the universe? Only those who entered the king tier were considered adults. It was because only by mastering the ability to fly in the air could one survive in the depths of the harsh universe. After all, some planets' gravity was equivalent to hundreds of times that of planet Yanhuang. Some were thousands of times, and some were even gravity-free. If one didn't master magic power, it was impossible to survive in such an environment. Of course, magic power didn't mean that one could resist hundreds of times the gravity. Ordinary Purple Mansion Realm cultivators still couldn't survive in such a harsh environment. Only stronger cultivators could do it. No matter what, the Purple Mansion Realm was just the starting point, and it could be considered as having the power to resist the environment of the universe. This is magic power? Xiaoping made a grabbing motion with his hand. Instantly, a mass of magic power surged out of his body, condensing into an energy sphere. This energy sphere spun slowly, emitting a tyrannical aura. He sensed that this power was completely different from stellar energy. It contained the brand of mental energy and was even more wondrous. Its destructive power was at least 10 times stronger than stellar energy. Dong! With a light wave of his hand, he sent the energy ball flying out. Immediately, a huge rock in front of him was smashed into dust, turning into dust and disappearing from this world. After the energy sphere destroyed the rock, it continued to destroy. A huge pit with a diameter of more than 10 meters appeared on the ground, and the entire underwater mountain was trembling. This is too amazing. Xiaoping closed his eyes. It wasn't just his magic power that was so mysterious. When his spiritual power liquefied, his spiritual power spread out and the range of his spiritual power kept expanding. In the end, it expanded to a range of 150 kilometers, which was many times larger than before. The expansion of the range was nothing. The most important thing was that this spiritual power was extremely mysterious. It could penetrate into the particles in the air and sense every grain of dust in the air. It was almost all-pervasive. It was estimated that even if his spiritual power spread out casually, cultivators below the monarch realm wouldn't be able to sense it. It was like an electromagnetic wave, spreading out in circles and invisible. Within this range, he could sense the sea within a range of 150 kilometers. He could sense all the living things and non-living things in this area. He could even penetrate the surface of these things. Subconsciously, Xiaoping used his spiritual power. The huge spiritual power condensed into a sharp sword, and he slashed at a nearby rock. With a crack, a small crack appeared on the rock. Although it was just a small crack and couldn't be compared to the destructive power of Xiaoping's martial arts, it brought Xiaoping an unparalleled shock. No way. Can this kind of spiritual power directly attack things in the physical world? Xiaoping was shocked. One had to know that spiritual power was a kind of illusory power. It was close to the boundary between illusory and real. It could only be like an electromagnetic wave, constantly spreading to explore the surrounding environment. It was just a supplementary method. However, now that spiritual power had become strong enough, it could actually interfere with things in the physical world. This was very terrifying. If it continued to grow stronger, wouldn't it be not illusory to kill people with a glare, but reality? In reality, there were also some races in the depths of the universe that were good at using spiritual power. They specialized in using spiritual power to kill their enemies, killing without leaving a trace and destroying souls. It was extremely strange and powerful, and countless living things would tremble in fear at the mention of it. The more Xiaoping sensed, the more mysterious the monarch realm was. It seemed that he would never be able to find the end of this mysterious power. It was unfathomable. This feeling. As Xiaoping continued to comprehend the power of spiritual power, earth-shaking changes also happened in his body. One by one, the golden crow of hell cells awakened and melted into his blood. 1, 2, 10, 20, 100. In the end, the 1,000th golden crow of hell cell awakened. This seemed to have reached a certain realm. A large amount of golden crow of hell bloodline merged into his body, continuously strengthening his bones, skin, muscles, meridians, and so on. He was evolving in an inhuman direction. At the same time, the blood in his body seemed to be boiling like lava. At this moment, the blood in his body seemed to have transformed into a golden and black flame, exuding a holy, noble, ancient, and chaotic aura. This was a power that came from an unknown era, and it was rumbling in his body. Suddenly, a kind of golden crow of hell ability awakened in Xiaoping's body. Immediately, he felt a world-shaking change in his stomach. The power of the golden crow of hell gathered in his stomach, condensing into a solar furnace, and the power of flames constantly surged and burned. Mysterious inscriptions appeared in his stomach, covering the entire stomach. It seemed to be forged into an unimaginable part, giving birth to unimaginable power. What is this? Chapter 10:51. This is the stomach of the golden crow of hell. The moment this special part was formed, Xiaoping instinctively knew what it was. It was as though he was born with this ability. He was very familiar with it. He also knew the ability of this stomach. Just like the Taotai race, it could devour everything in the world, digest it, and take the energy as its own. Even if it was steel or stone, once it entered the stomach, it would immediately be burned into the most primitive energy particles by the golden crow of hell's flames and quickly digested. If it was a treasure like spirit medicine or elixir pill, it could devour every single drop without wasting the slightest bit of medicinal efficacy. It can also devour and produce the power of fire. Xiaoping sensed that terrifying infernal golden crow flames were constantly being born from his stomach. It was as though he had transformed into a super fire dragon. As long as he opened his mouth, he would be able to spit out destructive flames from his stomach to kill his enemies. Moreover, if it was the enemy's flames, he could also devour all the flames into his stomach to strengthen and replenish his body's energy. Unbelievable. Xiaoping knew that if he continued to evolve and unseal the golden crow of hell cells, more and more abilities of the golden crow of hell would emerge. If he awakened the kidney, he could neutralize all poisons in the world and have a body that was immune to all poisons. If he awakened the heart, he would have the phoenix's ability to rise from the ashes and provide endless vitality to the body. He would almost become an existence that could not be killed. Apart from that, it seemed that the golden crow of hell had many other incredible abilities. No way, another thunder tribulation? Suddenly, Xiaoping felt danger coming from above him. It seemed that there were thunder clouds gathering over the endless sea, covering a radius of 100 miles. When he awakened 1,000 golden crow of hell cells, he also triggered a taboo in the universe. It was about to send down a lightning bolt to kill the monster in this universe. It seems like this thunder tribulation is unavoidable. I have to resist it. Xiaoping felt that this thunder tribulation was always staring at him like the eyes of heaven. No matter where he escaped to in the cloud world, he would not be able to escape. Since that was the case, he had to resist it. Now that he had reached the Purple Mansion realm, he had dermic powers, and his spiritual energy was much stronger. His strength had increased by more than 10 times. Even if he had to face the power of the thunder tribulation, he would not be afraid. Don't. He smashed the rock blocking the cave with a punch and directly collapsed. Then his figure flickered and he leaped from the underwater world to the surface of the sea. He stood in midair and floated in the air. At this moment, the sky was filled with dark clouds. They were incomparably thick and solid. These dark clouds covered an area of several hundred kilometers, covering the sky and the earth, turning the sea region into a world of darkness. Above the ocean, the wind and clouds surged. From time to time, lightning would descend with astonishing momentum. The sea creatures in this area sensed that they were about to face a calamity. They were so frightened that they fled, not daring to stay in this dangerous area. That's 18 lightning tribulations. Xiaoping extended his mental power over and immediately knew that this lightning tribulation was even more terrifying than the previous one. It was double the previous one, reaching 18 lightning tribulations. The power of this lightning tribulation had increased by who knew how many times. Dong! Just as Xia Ping flew up into the air from the bottom of the sea, the thunderbolts accumulated in the dark clouds in the sky seemed to be unable to hold back and wanted to strike this scourge to death with a bolt of lightning. In the blink of an eye, dozens of bucket-thick purple lightning bolts descended. They were like accurate missiles as they ruthlessly struck Xia Ping's body. Dark North Body Protection Technique. Xia Ping instinctively ran his own body protection technique, and immediately a black Kuan Peng flew out of his body. With his body as the center, a powerful chi shield with a diameter of tens of meters gushed out. Crack! These purple thunderbolts smashed the defensive chi shield unreasonably and easily penetrated it. They smashed on Xia Ping's body, and the destructive power immediately broke out. It's useless. Xia Ping didn't expect that his Dark North Body Protection Technique had no defensive power against the power of these purple thunderbolts. The penetrating power of these purple thunderbolts was so terrifying that it couldn't be resisted at all. Boom! Immediately, his whole body was struck by the purple thunderbolts into a charred black state, crackling, and tiny wounds appeared all over his body, bleeding a lot. Fortunately, this was only the first lightning tribulation, and his body was extremely strong, comparable to a divine beast, so it was not a problem to resist the destructive power of a thunderbolt. By the way, I have been promoted to the Purple Mansion realm, but I'm still running the Grandmaster Realm Dark North Body Protection Technique. Of course, the defensive power can't keep up with my improvement speed. It seems that I must immediately exchange for the King Realm Dark North Body Protection Technique. Thinking of this, Xia Ping immediately exchanged with the system. The King Realm Dark North Body Protection Technique requires 100 million hatred points. The system's voice came out. There's also the King Realm Technique of 7 Arrows Technique, which also requires 100 million hatred points. Would the host like to exchange for it? Exchange. Xia Ping didn't hesitate to spend 200 million hatred points and directly exchange for the contents of these 2 peerless techniques. In this way, he only had 380 million hatred points left. However, in order to enhance his own strength, it was worth it. Anyway, he could earn hatred points at any time. Voila! Immediately, a huge amount of information flowed into his mind. These were the cultivation's secret techniques of 2 peerless techniques, surging like a tide. Fortunately, he had already opened up the Purple Mansion, and his brain was greatly expanded. If an ordinary person received this information, his whole head would explode in an instant. This feeling is simply too wonderful. Xia Ping silently comprehended the new cultivation method, which was the mysterious way of operating the Dark North Body Protection Technique. All of a sudden, he found that the Dark North Body Protection Technique had undergone earth-shaking changes, and the chi shield that emerged from his body was completely different from before. He immediately sensed that many mysterious runes gushed out of this chi shield, like the tortoise shell of the ancient divine turtle, densely covered with veins like crystals. This crystal-like defensive chi shield was like a world barrier, and its defensive power was much stronger than before. Bang, bang, bang. At this moment, dozens of purple thunderbolts fell from the sky. They hit the defensive chi shield fiercely with great destructive power. Just one of these purple thunderbolts was enough to smash a small mountain. Chapter 1052. However, Xia Ping discovered that his energy shield was like flowing water. It was incomparably soft and could move according to his will. Dong! Dozens of purple thunderbolts fell again. Xia Ping's heart moved, and suddenly the air shield was rotating like a planet. These purple thunderbolts couldn't hurt the defensive air shield at all. They flew out clockwise along the rotation of the air shield, and finally bombarded the nearby sea. All of a sudden, the entire sea was hit by dozens of thunderbolts, setting off shocking waves, and the nearby small islands were smashed into pieces. The destructive power was amazing. Transfer? This is the power of transfer. Xiaoping knew all of a sudden that his Dark North body protecting technique was not only more than 10 times stronger than before, but it even had an even more incredible power. If the enemy's attack bombards on the Dark North body protecting technique, he can follow his mind and transfer the enemy's power to anywhere. In this way, he is in an invincible position, and the other party can't hurt him at all. Dark North body protecting technique is really strong. The more Xia Ping practiced, the more he felt the strength of Dark North body protecting technique. This was not just a defensive technique. This was simply a super technique of both offense and defense. At this moment, the thunderclouds above the sky seemed to be even more angry. Knowing that this kind of power seemed to be unable to do anything to this evildoer, it would fall the power of thunder several times more terrifying than before. But it was useless. The Dark North body protecting technique that had been completely evolved now not only had the power of devouring power, but also the power of transfer. If the power of thunder couldn't be completely devoured, it would be transferred out and wouldn't hurt his body. Bang, bang, bang. A lot of thunder power came down, and Xiaoping's whole body seemed to be wrapped in thunder energy, constantly bombarded, crackling, and tempered. Comfortable. Xiaoping no longer felt that this thunder tribulation was a disaster, but felt that this was a rare opportunity for cultivation. Dark North body protecting technique constantly devoured the power of these thunder tribulations. The energy of thunder turned into a small thunder snake, drilling into Xiaoping's body, wandering in his limbs and bones, constantly refining and strengthening his physique. Immediately, a trace of subtle thunder power also entered his cells, making his body contain a trace of thunder power. The whole person seemed to be possessed by the god of thunder. Due to the power of the lightning, all the cells in his body became more active. The purple mansion in the depths of his mind was expanding bit by bit, and the boundless thunder energy was gushing in. The magic power in his body was increasing at a frenzied pace, and it was evolving towards the middle stage of the Purple Mansion realm. However, because the commotion caused by Xia Ping's tribulation transcendence was too great, it affected a radius of hundreds of kilometers. This phenomenon was also discovered by 2 or 3 sea race demon monarchs. They were the Sea Spider King, Water Crab King, and Squid King, the 3 Purple Mansion realm demon kings. Originally, they had been attracted by the heaven and earth anomaly a few days ago and had been constantly searching for treasures in this sea region, hoping to find the heaven and earth rare treasure that had yet to appear. However, even after searching for several days, he had not found anything. Now, however, he discovered a region of the sea. Dark clouds covered it, and thunder rumbled. It was a shocking phenomenon. What happened? The Sea Spider King was the first to notice Xiaoping. Why is there a person under the lightning? It looks like he was struck by lightning. It was dumbfounded as it had never experienced such a thing before. Even in the cloud realm, the thunder tribulation was a rare occurrence. After all, there were very few living beings that were qualified to be punished by heaven. It was probably only seen in ancient books. Could it be that the phenomenon a few days ago was caused by this brat? The Water Crab King's eyes flickered as it faintly guessed. This is not something that can be done by a human. Maybe this brat is extremely lucky and found some heaven and earth rare treasure, which caused him to be envied by heaven and earth. That's why he suffered such a disaster. The Squid King's eyes revealed a hint of greed. I wonder what kind of treasure it is to be able to cause such a huge phenomenon. If we can get it, we will be rich. It couldn't wait to immediately snatch all the treasures on this human. However, the power of these lightning bolts is really terrifying. If we were in the middle of the lightning bolts, we would probably be struck to death in a short period of time. The Sea Spider King's eyes were filled with fear as it looked at the thunderclouds in front of it. It didn't dare to approach, as it contained the power to strike a king to death. After being struck for so long, could that human have been struck to death? The Water Crab King was suspicious as it looked at Xiaoping, who was in the center of the thunderclouds, undergoing the tribulation. However, because the power of the lightning was too terrifying, there was purple lightning energy everywhere, distorting the space, making it impossible for it to see what was happening inside. It would be best if he was struck to death. The Squid King laughed cruelly. This way, we can obtain the treasure on that human king's body without any effort. We really searched everywhere and found it without any effort. It was very proud. Our luck is indeed extremely good. That's right. We've only been searching for a few days, yet we've already found the treasure that caused the phenomenon. Hee hee. What's even better is that we're not the first unlucky bastards to find that treasure. We also don't need to suffer the punishment of the tribulation lightning and have a scapegoat. Isn't that so? When that brat is struck to death by the lightning, we'll pick up the treasure from his corpse. How satisfying. The 3C race kings were extremely proud, feeling that they were favored by the heavens. Otherwise, why would so many kings come out to search for treasures, but not a single one succeeded? But what if that human didn't die? The Sea Spider King asked. The Water Crab King laughed coldly. Even if he didn't die after such a terrifying tribulation lightning, he's definitely crippled. How can a crippled king be a match for us 3 kings? We can kill him in a matter of minutes. That's right. An innocent man will get into trouble because of his wealth. Who asked him to be unlucky enough to meet us? Once this tribulation is over, we'll sneak up. Even if he doesn't die then, we'll kill him. The Squid King's eyes flashed with killing intent. To sea race kings like them, killing a person was not a big deal. Not to mention, this was for the sake of obtaining a natural treasure. Even if a war were to break out, it might not be impossible. Look, the thunderclouds are about to dissipate. The tribulation lightning should be over. After an unknown amount of time, the Sea Spider King suddenly shouted. It saw the dark clouds in the sky quickly dissipate as if the power of the lightning had disappeared. Sunlight descended from the sky, cutting through the darkness and restoring the sea to its former calm. Go kill that brat.